the future certainly looks bright, but it isn't without its darker sides. According to some predictions, obesity will likely run rampant, and political corruption will become so commonplace as to be accepted. People with nothing entertaining or informative to say will broadcast their demands for attention, and once beloved performers will become pushers of snake oil. Perhaps worst of all will be the emergence of a deadly and potentially devastating disease. Think of the last time that you contracted influenza. You were likely bedridden for days, having no appetite or desire to play games. Experts predict that by the year 2020, a new virus will rise, spreading from somewhere in Asia to the rest of the world. And with international travel being available to even the most common citizen, a sickness which would have been contained in years past will quickly spread to all corners of the globe.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Coming to you from the studio located in the Nemesis stars, planet Earth. The transition, transition, try the best,
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keane. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out, www.thebestdamnpodcast.tv. Follow me, Instagram, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, @TheRealBestDamn, and wherever you're watching from, guys, please make sure to hit that like, give us a thumbs up, share this link, get it out there. That way new people can find us and spread it far and wide. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. And don't forget, subscribe, click that bell. That way you guys can get all of the notifications. And keep in mind, guys, we are completely viewer powered. That means we're fully funded and supported by you, the wonderful listener and the viewer. The donation links are in the description box below, and they should be scrolling through the chat tonight if my bot works correctly. That's PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, Cash App, and Facebook Messenger Pay. And to everyone who will donate and has donated, big ups. Big thanks to you guys. Tomorrow night will be the private show over on the Best Damn Podcast Discord. I was going to do it tonight, but I switched it. Tomorrow night will be the private show. We will probably be doing it at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm trying to do them earlier if they're on the weekdays. So yeah, that'll be for everybody that has donated and supported in the month of August. It's $35 a month if you want to join the Best Damn Fam. You get access to the private live shows on Discord, as well as the entire Best Damn Fam private and uncensored content Dropbox, which is over 100 videos, hours and hours long, merch, posts, all types of cool stuff if you're interested in joining that. But everybody who donates in the month of August, whether you gave $1 or $100, gets to watch the private shows live over on Discord tomorrow night before the video. Just mention @John Keane and let me know the platform that you used to donate on. So just put like PayPal and the date you donated in August, and I'll upgrade your role to Best Damn Fam, and then you'll have a whole month's worth being able to watch the private shows over on Discord with us. This one will not be streamed out live on anything else, just privately, and it's going straight to the Dropbox. So just giving you guys a heads up. Also, if you have donated and supported, or you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a soul profile, the tarot readings are $50. The soul profiles are $100. You do it all the same way. Text 513-393-2396, 513-393-2396, or you email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com, and you either put tarot reading, soul profile, or Dropbox links. That way I know which one you're actually messaging me for. And if you do book a personal tarot reading, I'll get you taken care of within 24 hours of payment. Soul profile is 3 days because it's a little bit more homework. And on the readings too, I can do it either your own personalized video, or we can sit down on Discord and do it. The tarot readings take about 30 to 45 minutes, and the profile takes about an hour or more. So it's really fun, really cool. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight anyway, so I don't want to talk too much. A lot of cool things that are going on. Let's see what we got in the chat here. Let's see what we got in the chat tonight. Okay, and big ups and big thanks to everybody, man. I appreciate you guys so much. I can't even begin to express my gratitude to each and every one of you guys for just taking the time to watch the videos, to join the servers and the groups, and to, engage and participate the way that you do. I think it's amazing, and it says a whole lot about you guys as people and your character, and just how committed you are to learning and working on your own craft, if you will, for lack of a better word, and your own spiritual development, as well as just learning what the truth is. Right now, everything seems to be all about obfuscation, right? They're like obfuscating everything. And there's a lot of haze in the air when it comes to what's going on. Like, shit's real murky right now. And I believe that's intentional. It's to keep people distracted, to keep people in the dark. That way we don't know our ass from a hole in the ground. That way, if things do, hit the fan, if shit does get a little turbulent, no matter where you're at in the world, it's like the powers that be kind of got to jump on you that way. So it's kind of up to us to really stick together, to really make sure that we're responsible for ourselves being informed on what's going on in the world. Kind of number one, it's up to you to stay informed. You can't depend on the media. You can't depend on Big Brother, your family, your friends. None of those people are going to, are going to make sure you're where you need to be when it all goes down. And none of those people are going to make sure that you get the perspective that's going to serve you best, right? And that's really what it's all about. You learn that on your spiritual journey, especially, is that if you don't love yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't develop yourself, then you really can't do nothing for nobody else, right? So I think a lot of people are finding that out in the truth community as well. It's like, well, if I don't really have all my ducks in a row, and I'm not where I want to be, and I'm not in alignment, and I'm not living in my purpose, and I'm not seeing through all the bullshit, then how can I really go on Facebook and make these posts and preach to others? Or how can I really go to my friends and family and try to tell them what's going on when I don't really have a clear idea myself? And I think that that's what gets a lot of people in trouble, because then you're backpedaling on shit that you said before. People start seeing you as wishy-washy and all over the place, and then they don't believe what you're saying, right? You can discredit your own self, guys, by getting bad information, or just kind of being to and fro, all over the place with the things that you do believe and statements that you do make. So make sure, no matter what you're doing, if you're out there trying to wake others up, and I know a lot of you guys are, if you're out there trying to wake others up, make sure you got info, to back that shit up. Don't just say, oh, well, it's just a feeling. Or, the Bible said, that may work with some people that are super religious, but that's why on this channel we hit it from so many different angles. That way there's no disputing, the things that we're sharing and the things that we're saying. It's like, okay, well, if you don't get down with prophetical things and biblical and scriptural things, well, that's cool. We'll look at it from a scientific angle, right? And it's like, if you're not down with the scientific, right, we'll look at something that's observable evidence that you can see with your eyes, that, people have eyewitnessed and shit like that, right? Like, so you got to kind of, and some people need more than that. They're like, no, I want to see, something even deeper. And that's why we go into the astrological and all of that, man. It's like, okay, we need to understand that the truth is always self-evident and it stands on its own. So if it is true, I promise you, and this shit is true all across the board, it will bear itself out. It will stand on its own and it will prove itself in every arena. And even if science and religion and government, and all of that hasn't caught up to, what we're talking about yet, or some of what we're talking about on this channel, and a lot of us are talking about in, spiritual circles, there's some information out there that is in that realm, and it will, kind of prove what you're saying. You just got to dig deep sometimes. And I promise you, if you do your homework, you do your due diligence, you do your research, so to speak. I hate that too. Anybody ever get into, you're like a post on Reddit and some motherfucker, makes a statement about something that you've said, and they're like, you counter their argument. You're like, yo, what you just said was bullshit, bro. And they're like, do your research. It's like a big cop-out for them to not actually back up anything they say. But I mean it, though. Like, do your research. For real, for real. And I think that that's what we do on this channel. We're doing our research live and in real time. And we're dissecting not only what the mainstream media, but alternative media is putting out there. Because in my opinion, I kind of have like this Jungian belief on the way that reality works. And I do believe that we project, reflect, whatever, right, our conscious reality, and humanity's psyche, or our collective spirit is manifest in everything. So that's why we see, like scripture, which the base word is script, right, be kind of like the script to the program. It's that cyclical nature of reality that plays itself out over and over and over again. That's why there's nothing new under the sun, which kind of gives credence to we're probably living in a holographic simulation of sorts. But we see it play out in the constellations, astrologically, in the stars. We see it play out in world events, geopolitically. The shit's even self-evident on metaphysical levels, anatomical levels, metaphorical, allegorical. I mean, you name it, right? So that kind of gives credence to that. Like, yeah, whatever's going on the inside definitely seems to be projected externally everywhere you look. So that's good news for us, though. You want to know why? That means however you perceive the world, too, right? So it's not just a collective and what we got going on collectively. Sure, our shared collective experience is going to reflect the shared collective consciousness. But, big but, our individual conscious perception dictates our individual lives and experience. Now, to me, that's good news. To me, that's absolutely wonderful news, and maybe that's what Jesus was talking about when he was talking about the good news, right? Preaching the good news. That's how you're saved from everything. It's through faith, right? It's by believing. Well, through faith is just, your thoughts and intentions being pointed in a positive direction of things that are unseen. So if we have this idea of the world that we're actually in control, in the way that we view it, the way that we see it, shapes the way that we experience it, well, then it doesn't have to be a bad thing no matter what we see taking place around us. If we point our compass towards positivity, if we point our compass towards love, unity, and we lean on one another that are all trying to do the same thing here. Like if you're in this family, if you're in this group, my belief is that you're probably, onto a lot of the same shit, right? You believe a lot of the same things. You look into a lot of the same stuff. You have a lot of the same concepts that I do, and that's why you watch. Or you have similar ones at the very least. And if we're all kind of pointing in these directions, well, then we have a big chance that we can impact not only the collective and the entire experience as a whole, but we can dramatically focus our energy within our own individual lives and with our own small group we have here, and actually make our lives better and focus that energy and begin to attract things that are far more desirable than what we've been getting in cycles from the past. Think about it. Most of us, we got to the place we're at today because we've been beat down by the world, right? It's had to take a bunch of L's to kind of get us to where we're at now, right? To humble us enough to be able to truly learn, realize we don't know everything, and get humble enough to learn, truly learn. Or a lot of us has had to encounter a lot of different people, a lot of different places, situations, and some of it wasn't always comfortable. Some of it was very uncomfortable, traumatic, or, really hard. And it's made us to be to where we're able to adapt now to people that are different than us, right? And where we have such different perspectives on the world, whether it's our political points of view or our spiritual points of view, right? It doesn't matter. Where we're so different in the way that we see things, it allows us to be able to accept others that are different than us as well, right? And that's a true gift right there, because most people fear what they don't understand, and most people, they just absolutely silence anything that is a dissenting voice from the status quo, or, whatever the majority believes in, right? And you won't find that here. You can come here and be a flat earther or a round earther. It's not going to make a difference. Nobody's going to give you a hard time either way. It's up to you, how you see the world. It's your experience. And I think it's also taught us that it's so important not to dwell on those little things, the little differences, right? Because if we focus on what makes each and every one of us different, or what we disagree on, well, we'll do nothing but, fight and have conflict, for eternity. And that's the whole divide and conquer mentality. That's why they create all of these different labels and separate us the way that they do, the way we're constantly focused on our differences and we're attacking and opposing each other instead of focusing on the big problems, right? And big solutions, and how we can actually make a difference and how we can actually make our lives better. So if we focus on the things that we do share and that we do have in common, I think we get a lot further that way. And that's one of the things that this group really does well, right? Is try to stick together on the things that we're all in together on. And one thing we're all in together is we all agree that love is key. That love is the answer, and that God is love. So if we act out of love, if we act out of selflessness, and we do things from that place, then we're always going to find ourselves not only in a good karmic position, storing up good dharma, good chi, good energy, however, you want to see it. We're doing it on a spiritual level, putting good money in the bank, basically. But we're also putting that out into the world for others to experience, and attitudes are contagious. If you come into a building and you have a shit attitude, chances are you're going to get a shit reception. And if you come in somewhere and you're happy and you're putting on peace and prosperity, you spread that around as well. I'm telling you, that's my whole theory behind social distancing and shit. You know what I mean? That 6-foot radius, because our heart generates an electromagnetic field the largest of our body, with a 6-foot radius. Right? So it's like if you have a super high conscious person that's generating nothing but, peace and happiness and goodness in their field, well, you don't want their field interacting with others because it's so contagious. We want to keep everybody separate, isolated, in the dark, full of distortion and feeling like dog shit. That's you're way easier to control if you're always distracted by bullshit. You're way easier to control if you're blinded by rage and by anger. These all are tactics, and mechanisms and devices that are used to keep you oppressed, that are used to keep you from blossoming into your full potential, into the person that you were that you are meant to be, and from finding your true calling and your true purpose, man. So let's jump into this. I know I've been on the soapbox a lot lately. I don't know what's up with me. Like the last couple of videos, I don't even know if I even did videos. I just talked for like fucking 2 hours. But it's like I just say what's on my mind, and when I see the chat too, the chat's been totally amazing. It's like the comments in the chat, man. It's like some of that shit just needs to be addressed. That's what it's all about, is our shared experience. And guys, I want to say too, it may feel like you're not, but you're doing a hell of a job out there. Like, we're making a difference. If we wasn't making a difference, we wouldn't see that they are literally altering community guidelines on social media platforms and shit to try to stop certain types of information. If we wasn't doing our job and making a difference, they wouldn't be coming up with international laws to try to stop the information, right? The censorship, shadow banning, cancel culture, all of those things would not exist if we wasn't putting a big fucking dent in the armor of the man. So I just want people to know that. We just got to keep chugging, keep pushing forward. And I think we're about there. Like, to me, if you look at the world, and we're going to get into this now too, the weather is getting quite chaotic. This includes solar weather, all right? To me, and this is on a serious note, to me, this is indicative of major changes that are just on the horizon, right? I told you guys that we had this whole Jupiter retrograde time, that as Jupiter went into Pisces, and the new moon, in the 8-8 Lions Gate, like all of these different things, we were going to have this time of beauty and manifestation and prosperity and abundance according to your natal chart and all of that. Not everybody's going to get as good of an experience depending on how you connect to Jupiter. That's why you should book a reading with me. You find that out, but I digress. But most of us will, right? Most of us will. And now we're coming, I think we're 6 days away from new moon in Virgo. So this is like the last burst of beauty, the last burst of big energy for us before we start heading into what I believe will be a little bit darker days around the month of October. So to me, we're starting to see the weather now get a little bit more hectic. The climate has been very chaotic. Let's not even pretend like it hasn't. But I think we're going to get closer and closer shaves with, destruction, chaos, and cataclysm now. We're going to see the birthing pangs, so to speak, intensify exponentially over the next month or so. And when we go into October, I think things are really going to start to rock and roll. In particular, geopolitically, we've already seen the things that are taking place in Taiwan. North Korea is starting to pop off again. And we know that this is all theater. We know it's all theater, okay? So I'm not saying this to, put fear in your belly or anything like that. I'm trying to tell you this because this is how it works, right? They, and by they I mean the powers that be, they flow with the astrological energies the same way that a good magician does, right? Somebody that understands the way the stars work and the energy coming from the stars uses said energy to their advantage in their own spiritual development and growth. It's like, okay, if I know right now I better be careful because I'm very prone to attract narcissistic people. Well, I'm going to avoid certain types, right? If I know that the stars aren't favorable for me in dating at a certain time, I'm probably not going to try to hook up with too many people, right? Common sense. And if you understand the way that these things work and you understand that there is a true science to this, it's not just, pseudoscience and metaphysical bullshit like you're told. Usually everything that they tell you is evil or pseudoscience or just, spiritual mumbo jumbo is usually the shit that's spot on, right? It's usually where our modern science actually derives from as well. Like, I don't care if it's chemistry or whatever, that comes from alchemy. You look at astronomy and all that, it comes from astrology. Like, so all the things that we see today came from these original sacred sciences, and different forms of hermeticism, which means to be sealed, right? This is sealed information, or what we would call the occult, which is occulted, which means to be hidden, right? And esoteric, right? It's internal, right? It's internal, not exoteric, or the external point of view. The external point of view is what the world gets to see. And this is what we see in religion. This is what we see in politics, right? This is what we see in every doctrine of the earth. Every school of thought on the earth is this external, physical, kind of lower-minded point of view when it comes to things. And anything that steps outside of that box, they're going to try to label with something that will discredit it. That way you'll stay away from it. And if it doesn't work through fear, well, that's evil, right? That's occult, that's dark, that's evil. Stay away from that. If you're not, driven away by fear because they said it was evil, then they'll use other methods and other terms like pseudoscience and all that to try to make it sound stupid. Or like there's not a scientific process behind it, or it can't be backed up in any way, shape, or form, just like they do with history by calling it mythology. Those are like historical accounts, and those historical accounts spread all the way across the goddamn world. Like there's, I think there's over 600, and I'm using my quote fingers, mythos pertaining to a deluge. Now you tell me, okay? Let's just think about that for a second, right? It's a myth, right? A myth that there was a great flood, even though there is data when it comes to, the soil geological data showing that we've had, large floods, ice ages, all these things, right? Mass extinction events, multiple. We're actually on our 6th mass extinction event right now. And even though we have all of this, right, still it's considered mythos or mythology whenever we talk about these accounts, because mainstream science, mainstream history doesn't have the answers because it predates what they put in their textbooks. It doesn't fit into their nice little neat timeline because we're probably far older than we've ever been told, for one. For two, it doesn't fit in their timeline because they don't want you to know that this whole deal with I call it gradualism, where they tell you that we evolve, the planet evolves, the stars evolve, and everything evolves on this very, very minimalistic, gradual timeline where it takes millions and billions of years for one cataclysm to occur, and it's just not true, right? It's just not true. You can look at anything you want, but when you go back down to the soil and, carbon dating is all fucked up. And I believe they use carbon dating intentionally because it's so deceptive and gives these really wacky timelines for the way that things take place. So they want you to buy into it. So they're like, okay, we're going to, just like a PCR test, right? Can find any bacteria or molecule basically of anything within the earth in the human body and amplify it and make it appear as if it's there, so they can find anything they want to with those. Same thing with like carbon dating. It's got like such a wide range of timeline in the testing. They can say, yeah, this was any time between 10,000 and 20,000, BC, right? When they really have no clue, what time it was. And if we really get down to brass tacks, it appears these cataclysmic events are happening far and far more frequent than we've ever been told. They actually seem to correlate more than likely with, and this is from my findings and these are my theories, with our great conjunctions and our celestial events. And there could have even been a time where, like, the story of Christ and the sun, the birth of the sun, rising again 3 days later, I feel like at one point in time there could have been such a direct correlation between the sun and these cycles that when the sun went through this process, there was actually catastrophic effects too. I doubt that's been for a long time. But maybe that's where it even started. A lot of the mythos with the sun and the precession of the equinox and all of this. We know that the precession of the equinox is included biblically when they talk about the ram and the bull and all of, and now Pisces, the fish, with Christ, and now we're moving into the Aquarian age, a man carrying the pail of water. So those things are in there. They are heavily misinterpreted or misunderstood, and I believe that's also intentional, through the churches, because if they got you in a mind frame of understanding the times and the days, and the Bible says like that no man knows the day or time, because time is fluid for one, and time is actually an illusion for two, right? It's just man's concept of tracking our revolutions and orbits and cycles within, our reality. So yeah, that's why anytime you ever see prophecies and shit, they always use astrological alignments to kind of date when it's going to happen, because that never changes. That is the true clock, the sky clock, right? The clock in the heavens lets us know, what time, what season we're at, and if the religious systems discount astrology, well, looking at the prophecy of like the woman and the dragon, Revelations 12, right? And they're telling you, no, there's going to be an actual woman standing in the sky on top of the moon with the sun over her shoulders, right? And she'll have an actual crown of 12 stars on her head, like giving you this fairy tale fabled version of it. That way you're always looking for, and for one, it mystifies religion in a way to where, it plays on our imagination. And if we play on our imagination, it gets us more engaged. So if we're like, thinking of an actual God named Jesus riding back on a cloud and coming to save us with a flaming sword, we're a lot more pumped up about it than when we find out that the story of Jesus is actually about each and every one of us and us becoming anointed in Christ and us becoming like the Son of God, right? Like it's not as hyped up that way, so that's one of the reasons that religion does that. And number two, most of these 501c3s and all these different groups are part of, they've been corporatized, right? So in order for them to keep that status and, make their money and be part of the system, which they are, if you don't think they are, then I think during the pandemic that should have proven otherwise to you when they were lining people up to participate in all that. Canceling church to do that too. That should have showed you right there what the religious system's actually a part of, and who they actually belong to. Because it's not God, in case you haven't caught on by now. So if they give you this exoteric perspective, this external perspective, you're looking outside of yourself too for answers. which means you'll go to other men for answers, like liars, fork-tongued liars that usually capitalize on people like they do in 501c3s and all of that. And you won't trust your inner knowing, your inner self. You won't be in tune with your inner knowing, your inner self, and that Holy Spirit that resides within you. You won't be in tune with none of that because you'll think it's all outside of you and that you're not worthy or not good enough to have that, which is crazy. And if you believe you don't have it, you'll never tap into it, you'll never experience it, and you'll never wield it in the world against the enemy. And remember, Christ came to the Pharisees and Sadducees. And that would be your modern day religious systems, by the way. The gods have never changed since the time of Christ. Just saying. And he told them, your father is the father of lies. And their gods have not changed. That's why he fashioned a whip and was flipping over the tables of the money changers, right? Because they were doing the same shit back then in churches are doing today. And when he said that this temple, would be destroyed and resurrected 3 days later, they weren't pissed because they thought he was predicting his own resurrection, and was talking about putting the capstone of illumination on his own self. His spiritual temple, the holy city, New Jerusalem. They were upset because they thought that he was talking about knocking down their fucking church. They had mega churches back then. This isn't a new phenomenon. And one of the things I think that crawls under people's skin the worst is when I start talking about, churches and religion and Christianity and all of that. They think I pick on Christianity. No, I don't. It's the largest religion in the world, meaning it has more influence than any of the other religions all across the world, so we can't ignore that. And when you're fed propaganda and stuff that says, we'll be persecuted during the end times, well, if you're the largest religion in the world, I'm sorry, friend, but that's the furthest thing from persecution I can think of. Persecution would be, like groups like this, where all of your messages are hidden, censored, silenced, where all of the great leaders and great voices from your group are killed, canceled, right? Silenced, harassed. That would be like, the real deal. That's what it would actually look like. Remember, it says that they would kill you thinking that they were doing the work of God. Do you see where this is all going now? They create these individual committees to go after domestic terrorism, and they call you extremist and shit like this. Why? Because you just disagree with a few political policies, or you disagree with, the mainstream religions? That makes you a total dissident, a danger to society now? Shit. That's not an Orwellian dystopian future, is it? That's not persecution, is it? But you see, they flip it around, though. And they've got you convinced that if you're not part of the church, then, well, you're evil and you're persecuting them. It's like, nah, I don't think so. Don't think so at all. You guys are going right along with the agenda. You're doing exactly what they want you to do. You're saying exactly what they want you to say. And you're following the beaten path. You're not leading nothing. You're following. And if people are being saved through these different religions, it's not because God is in those buildings. It's because he's in the hearts of the people, and they sincerely want to make changes in their life, and they sincerely want to find find God or the source within themselves. That's the only reason. It wouldn't matter if they ever stepped foot into the building or they did it in their backyard. You know, and Christ talked about that too with the Samaritan woman, right? He said there'd come a time they wouldn't worship in the temples or anything, right? Or the mountains, that they would worship in the spirit. That's the time we're in now. You know, where it's happening in the spirit. We don't need religion. We don't need limitation and restriction and all these different things to tell us who God is, to tell us what God is to us. This set of rules that says we go to hell if we don't follow them. You know, and all-knowing, omnipotent, loving God is going to, toss you in the flames because you didn't get bound by the Saturnian death system's, piece of paper that says you're married before you had sex with someone? Don't think so. They're going to throw you in the flames of hell because you were true to yourself and loved who you loved if you're gay or lesbian? I don't think so, The last I checked, I mean, I'm not, but the last I checked, the people who are, they were born that way. I can't help who I'm attracted to. You know what I mean? Like, I love who I love. I like who I like. So who am I to say you're going to hell for who you like and who you love? And who are they to do it either? Or if we vote progressive or Democrat, we're going to hell now, too. By the way, I don't know if you guys caught the memo on that one. But if you're Team Blue, you're also going to hell now. And see, and this is how they get you. This is how they hook you. Hook, line, and sinker. They create these associations with different groups. And these groups appear to be grassroots movements. They do, right? The Trump movement, at first, damn, that shit looked like some grassroots movement, didn't it? Like the people choosing someone the people wanted. Someone who said, fuck the man, fuck the system. Let's take down Hillary. Let's expose those emails. All of it, right? And there was even a noble cause behind it because there always has to be a noble cause behind it. Whether it's safety and security of 9/11, weapons of mass destruction, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Desert Storm, or it's child trafficking with QAnon. That's your noble cause behind it. It's to pull on your heartstrings, because you won't fall for the controlled opposition if you don't feel truly emotionally invested into it. And that's what the whole thing of like trolling and doxing and all of that, what they do to people that actually tell the truth, they do it to me a lot. People will bash me, badmouth me, take every opportunity they can to record me saying or doing something wrong, to like as if it proves that if I do something immoral or something wrong, that everything I say is untrue. Right? Well, that's not the only reason they do those things to people like myself and others, and I'm sure they've done it to you too. They do it because they're trying to remove that emotional attachment to it, right? That feeling of brother and sisterhood, They want to dehumanize me and you and anybody that's speaking the truth. They don't want us to look like, loving, good people at all. No matter how many mistakes we've made, predominantly most of us are, deep down in our cores. No matter how many fuck-ups we've had, It's not like any of us are walking around claiming that we're perfect. But if they demonize you, well then, they've kind of put a damper on that now, haven't they? People won't support you now because they're like, oh, well, he's a bad person, so what he's saying is no longer true, or why would I get behind this if he does this, this, and that, or she does that, that, and this? Do you see how it works? This is the first time you've been seeing it a bit. Yeah. You kind of got used to being invisible. Well, it's okay. All of us had our time to go in the shadows. We all have our time where we need to do the hermit thing. Where we need to take a step back and really just be ourselves and really just kind of take a breather from the different information and from people and all that. That's necessary, That's necessary. But ultimately, we need to make sure that we are, staying on top of each other and looking out for each other, because I shit you not, guys. Like, we really will be all we have, and we are all we have if you haven't noticed that yet. It's coming to that now, they put all these eggs in the same basket, so to speak. Right, so no matter if you are considered the leader or you're, just kicking it, it doesn't matter now. They've data mined all of your feeds and algorithms and, metadata and all of that, So they see you just the same as me. It doesn't matter who's speaking and who's watching. It doesn't matter, if you watch me once a year or, once a week. You watch others that are just like this, or you probably say and, download and look into articles, they got it, is what I'm saying. So, we can't really trust that the outside society is going to do right by us when they went to so great of lengths and put in so much effort to isolate us, to segregate us, to demonize us. The only people we can really truly depend on to do right by us is us. And that starts with each and every one of us individually. But here we go. A volcanic eruption can devastate the world, and we aren't ready. Yeah, we're not ready. That's not news to anyone, but we'll look at it anyways. And here's the sad part. They could know that one was going to happen tomorrow, and they would not notify you of this. That's why when it comes to prepping, when it comes to any of these things, you have to understand what has taken place in the past when these cycles come to an end or come to a close, right? What's taken place in the past when the destroyers went by, or, when we've been hit by asteroids or magnetic reversals. And I think we do a good job on this channel at, illustrating what has happened in the past. We cover it quite a bit. Every show we talk about, previous extinction events and how they affected the Earth. So that's a good spot to start learning. And if we learn that, kind of what has happened and what we can expect this go around as well, we can also start to look into the signs and the symptoms, right? The Earth begins to show either right before or during these events. And I think that's where we're at now. It's like we're trying to understand, okay, well, before said, event A, we know that the Doomsday Glacier breaks loose and that all that ice starts, generating tsunamis, worldwide. We know that's one big sign. We know that whenever all this begins to happen, that the magnetic field becomes extremely turbulent and the Earth begins to perturbate. We know that. We know that whenever this begins to happen, that the currents and the jet streams begin to change directions, right, in the way that they flow. Well, we're seeing that. We know that as well. We know that when these events begin to happen, that crops and livestock are devastated by it, right? And that, whether it's monsoons and, fucking torrential rains that, it'll rain 10 years worth of rain in 30 seconds, or extreme droughts, that these are part of it as well. We're seeing that as well. We also know that we will see different things in the sky, too. The auroras, the colors, the heavenly bodies, the asteroids, the meteors, the fireballs, the comets passing. These are all, telltale signs of the times that we're in. We got that going on as well. We know that, and this is where the scientific shit becomes major in this, because we're now, and on this channel, I love that I don't feel like other people are doing it. And I'm not going to say why they're not doing it. I don't know. For real. Maybe they're just not there yet. And we know how consciousness works. We know that it just takes one, right, to have the knowledge and to start pushing that forward. And, we're in a group. So whatever I put out there, one of you guys, not only do you pick it up, but you'll capitalize on it and maybe take it further than what I did. I'll present a theory, and then one of you guys will bring, massive clarity to the theory, and even expound upon the theory, and then it begins to grow and spread like wildfire until all of us in the conscious community have that as a general understanding, So I feel like that's where we're at with a lot of the information that we've been sharing, especially here recently. This last couple of months in particular, the things that we've been sharing on this channel, I feel like nobody is talking about. And I feel like it's been like that for a while, but it's not because people are stupid. It's just because not everybody is as committed to it as this group of people are, to understanding the mechanism of reality and how it all works with electromagnetics and, light and sound and all of that. It's very, very complex in one hand, but it's also the most simple understanding you could ever find in the other hand, and that's the paradoxical nature of our reality. Now, we do know that these auroras and these gases and things that we're seeing are a big sign. Some people will chalk this up to geoengineering and HARP, and we're going to talk about cloud seeding and all that shit tonight too as we go through. That's also taking place. And we're going to talk about some reasons of why I think these things are taking place as we go through it all. But these are massive indicators of things that are, they're changing, right? The way that the sun is behaving and reacting, and its effects on the Earth, the coronal mass ejections, the solar flares, and the incredibly high solar activity, the sunspots. All of this. These are big indicators as well. Indicators of what? Well, in my opinion, I'm a believer in catastrophism, and that each cycle, each orbit, or a long cycle, long count, ends in destruction. We know that the nature of this reality, and we go on a micro and macro scale. So if it happens down at the cellular level, then it happens on the biggest level, which to me is the celestial level. It takes something dying for something to be born, right? And out of destruction, new life is formed. And these mass extinction events have showed us that, right? They've showed us that. We're on the 6th mass extinction event of the Earth, and all the previous mass extinction events, things changed drastically, forcing the entire planet to adapt, and all of the species and the animals and people that could not adapt died, right? They died. Most of them, I believe, from being unprepared, because they didn't have plans for a rainy day, when they most likely should have. That's just not being Chicken Little, the sky is falling. That's not being doom and gloom or fear porn. And, a lot of people say, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Well, I'm a believer in that too, but it doesn't mean that you're not logical and smart enough to prepare for a rainy day. To have a plan on things that are probable in the day and age that we live in. If you believe in mass extinction events, and what makes you think that you're not on the cusp of one right now? Looking across our planet, looking across the globe right now, what makes you think you're not on the cusp of one? If you believe in those things. If you don't believe in them, and you believe in an engineered, orchestrated, artificial, man-made culling of the masses and depopulation in the name of sustainable development type of thing, which we have ample evidence that's happened before. It was called World War I and World War II, right? Where the story was identical in both world wars, and they're now recycling the same story for World War III. If you believe that it's only man-made, there's a lot of evidence of that too. But I believe it's a combination of all of the above, and that men behave, and women, as a result of the influence of the things that are in the heavens. So if we have the sun dimming down its light, right, burning off its hydrogen, starting to produce helium, running out of plasma and energy as it continuously blows massive plasmatic ejections and radiation and cosmic rays, which is, conscious information. In my opinion, if it's blowing all of this stuff up at us on a daily basis, and our field is so weak now, it barely blocks any of it, then we're having drastic conscious effects when it comes to humanity, how we operate, how we think, how we behave, right? All of it. How we perceive things. Same thing goes if there is something else that is of a darker energetic nature, and we kind of know that there is, right? We see the South Atlantic anomaly, and it appearing to be charged by something with a negative polarity that's repelling our magnetic poles towards Siberia, as well as we're now seeing CMEs coming in the form of dark energy even. So there's these dark energy plasmatic bursts that are coming from the sun. Where's all the dark energy coming from? We do know that NASA just had a paper, a year and a half ago, that said that when you look at the solar wind and radiation from our sun, that there's more solar wind and radiation that can be accounted for by our actual star that protrudes from our sun. So to me, that means that it's because there's another heavenly body out there that's blowing off some of the same stuff, and it may just not be made up of the same magnetic properties as Sol, our star, is. Matter of fact, a lot of the mythos surrounding Planet X or Nemesis or this comet planet, whatever, is that it doesn't allow light to escape it, and that's why it's like a black hole. That's why it can only be seen in the infrared spectrum. That's why it's invisible to the naked eye till it's right up on you, because the magnetic pull of it is so strong that light itself can't even, escape its grip. So, imagine what happens harvest time when something that is negatively charged like that and is attracted to magnetically to negativity in certain metals comes rolling by. What happens to everybody with iron? An incredibly large amount of iron in their blood. What happens to them? They'll be magnetized right to the fucking star. Or those who have an incredibly dark, abstract, distorted consciousness and spirit. They're going right with it, right? They're going right to it. And if you think about it, too, this whole Saturnian frequency of iron, graphene oxide, and all these things that are being put into us and that are being explored through science, even down to the production of red blood cells and shit in our body, and how they're affected by these different things. What happens to all these people that are so tapped into all of that when this thing comes up, when this thing goes by? They'll be pulled right to it like a magnet. Their soul will be sucked out of their body, clean out of their fucking body, you know? If they have one left, if it hasn't already been destroyed and detached through the processes that, you know, we talk about on the private videos. Excuse me. And they want you disconnected from the Holy Spirit, if you will, from the source, from that signal of consciousness that comes from our Creator. Because if you're in tune with that signal, it raises your vibration, it raises your frequency, and it raises your awareness to such a stature that none of the lower energies can even affect or harm you anymore. To where all the things that used to blind you, that were occulted, that were hidden, that were sealed, right, and that used to blind you and maybe even scare you, are now incredibly obvious to you and pose no threat or no fear to you, because your understanding supersedes anything that you've ever been taught. The children of God are so full of iron, purge it out of you. They are your enemies. They want you dead. I'm not going to agree or disagree. I'm going to say that there are a lot of people that would like to see a lot of us gone that haven't went along with the whole transhumanist agenda. You know, I'll agree with that, and I'll say that. You know, and anybody attacking your carbon nature is probably not an ally or a friend, right? Trying to reduce the carbon footprint and you're made of carbon. Just saying, it's probably not, you know, one of your homies or someone you want to listen to. Just saying. So, major volcanic eruptions have the potential to cause major damage to the world. Now, while the chances of such a catastrophic eruption aren't exactly the highest, we are not prepared for the devastation if it should happen, as experts have noted in an article published in Nature. And I just want you to know, too, that these eruptions, they are, in fact, and can be, in fact, triggered by asteroid impacts. Asteroid impacts can trigger just exponential amounts of seismic and volcanic events all across the globe, right? One big fucking boom and shake to the tectonic plates can actually trigger everything. Okay, so matter of fact, I think it's Nostradamus that talks about, you know, a mountain thrown into the ocean that causes land masses to rise and fall, right? So that's incredible tectonic shifting that's taking place. That's seismic events. That's, you know, what we would call pole shift, and it's triggered by, you know, a celestial impact. Some giant asteroid hitting the earth, you know, ringing it like a fucking bell and shaking it to the point to where, you know, the land starts to shift. Because it can have such a devastating effect to our magnetic polarity, right? If we are protected by a magnetic field that's already in flux from something of an opposing polarity, you know, kind of pushing on it, and the way it's locked with the sun already, you know, causing it to kind of be all over the place and frayed and, you know, wobbling already. Then you have something come in that's got a super large magnetic field to it, and it's highly ionized as well, you know, because it is a large celestial body. It's an asteroid, you know, and it pounds the earth with all of that pressure and all of that force that's essentially equivalent to anything beyond what we know as far as nuclear weapons and their capabilities. You know, they're never going to tell you that. You know, they always try to say, oh, well, it's got the equivalent of this and this amount of TNT. You know, well, they're not telling you that if one actually hit that was, you know, big enough to kill a third of the fucking planet off. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of devastation that would look like. And that man themselves have nothing to compare, no fucking frame of reference to compare to what that would actually look like. Let's see if did I lose my article here? Let me see if I got my article here, guys. Yeah, here we go. Alright, so major volcanic eruptions have the potential to cause major damage to. And while the chances of such a catastrophic eruption aren't exactly the highest, we're not prepared for the devastation should it happen, as we have noted in an article published in Nature. The typical image of the volcano in popular culture isn't a large mountain capped by a hole in the top where the lava and ash erupt. And you can see right here, this is plumes of steam and ash that occur at Washington, Mount St. Helens in the early 1980s. According to a U.S. Geological Survey, there may be approximately 1,350 active volcanoes scattered throughout the world, 161 of them being in the U.S., the most famous of which are the volcanoes of Hawaii and Mount St. Helens in Washington. Additionally, volcanoes are thought to exist underwater, though the exact number is unknown. And what do volcanoes do, and how dangerous is an eruption? They played a role in numerous aspects of the planet's history. One of the most famous incidents is the eruption of Vesuvius in Italy, which resulted in the destruction of the Roman localities like Pompeii and Herculaneum. This is a good example of the sheer level of destruction a volcanic eruption can cause. According to researchers, Vesuvius' eruption released 100,000 times more energy than nuclear bombs dropped on Japan's cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II, and blasted in an estimated 1.5 million tons per second of the hot volcanic ash, molten rock, and more. Now, that's pretty fucking intense, too. Now, while the ash killed many of the locals by covering and smothering them, many others faced different fates, their skulls literally exploding, the heat boiling their blood and their brain turning to glass. And this is what I'm trying to tell you about an asteroid impact, too. Same fucking thing, except, on a time-lapse type of deal, it's instantaneous instead of, a little bit of a slower process. But during the eruption process, it's actually instantaneous with a volcano too. So we see them, smoke and, blow off gas and fumes for days before they ever pop. But when one finally goes explosive and erupts, you don't have time to run. You don't have time to hide. There's none of that. And if you're anywhere, within close proximity of it, you're dead. Even if it doesn't turn your brain to glass from the electromagnetic release and the heat and energy and all of that. Then, the smoke, the ash, all of it. And, there's lots of poison that comes out of that in the air and the rain. So, there's a lot of different things that could get you, including, pyroclastic flows and all of that. So, there's a very, very good chance that if you're in close proximity to a volcano when it erupts, you're just done. And the sad part is especially in the United States, I believe they don't tell not even a quarter of the people that live on top of them or around them that they're on volcanic hot zones. Like I said, I believe the reason that Oklahoma compresses and decompresses in the ground so much is because it's a giant caldera, actually. And that it's got a bunch of magma and shit underneath there, and it's probably going to blow one day. And the entire piece of a map can blow into a volcano, and you never know it, right? We don't know what fills up the chambers underneath the ground we walk on. Same thing New Mexico, same thing California, Alaska, right? I mean, this Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, this goes on and on and on and on. Yellowstone, right? Where all these different active areas, in particular Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, they're covered with it. And if you look at the geological data, especially in the Four Corners area in the Southwest, you can see these patterns in the soil that kind of show that there was evidence of pyroclastic flows, in previous times. That lava covered the ground and made these grooves from the flowing of magma, way back when, whenever that particular cataclysm happened. And we don't know how long it takes for Earth to recover from these. So people can say, well, John, that happened millions of years ago. Or that happened 100,000 years ago. You don't know that. You don't know if our planet recovers fast as shit, and within 300, 400 years, we could go from total devastation and destruction and not even be able to tell if any of it has taken place, besides little traces. You look at the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the sea, there is, and I mean, it's not even just a little bit. There are, entire cities that are, the size of fucking Manhattan and shit all over the bottom of the ocean floor, that have incredible architecture and, show that there was a very modern edge to the way that they were designing things and the lifestyles that they were living, and they were buried underwater in a fucking instant, in an instant. So, we have no idea, how long it takes, and a lot of them are still very well preserved that are under the water. So we don't know if that's from 10,000 years ago, or we don't know if that's from, 1,000 years ago, is my point. And like I said, through the deception of carbon dating, which to me is history's version of the PCR test, they are able to pull the wool over our eyes and, get us in that mindset of gradualism, of everything takes place incrementally, super, super slow, over a long period of time, and that, basically the celestial clock, it doesn't even blink in your lifetime, and that's also to make you feel incredibly insignificant. That way you won't try to do anything impactful in the world. It's like, oh, why bother? You know what I mean? I'm so insignificant that, this little, my life is nothing but a little millisecond blip on the map of what's taking place throughout human history, when it's probably not as accurate as what you're being told at all. Now, it says that Vesuvius was just one example of eruption. As bad as it may have been, many have been much worse. So I always wonder about that. Yes, true, but the end of the Time Prophecy seems set in stone. Okay. We can go there. As far as end times prophecies. Okay. As far as end time prophecies, first and foremost, let me just say this. To me, prophetical text, they are warnings, they're heads up against things that could take place. Not every one of them absolutely play out the way that they are said to play out. They are events that are seen, so they can happen on very different levels from what you've been told. Just because they're prophetical events doesn't mean they have to happen in the physical world in the way that you perceive it. if that makes sense. Especially with the Bible, because the Bible is probably one of the most esoteric, occult books in the world, you know? So a lot of what the Bible has in it is not just allegory for different stories. So they're not all exoteric and external at all, right? Most of them are allegory and they're metaphors for the spiritual and alchemical process that takes place within each and every one of us during the process of transmutation or transfiguration into illumination and enlightenment. They've just put it out in plain sight. That way nobody will recognize it when they see it. And, we live in fear of destruction and death because the prophecy said so. And, that's kind of like a tactic of control as well. So we're constantly looking over our shoulder saying, oh, well, the prophecy said this person would become president and then it's all over, So it's like, what's all over, though? Are they talking about an old paradigm, an old way of seeing things, an old perception? See, that's where you have to get really, really clear on how you read spiritual texts and prophecies and all of that. Because if you take away your preconceived notions and you look at it at like a first person perspective and you look at it as these things are about me and these are metaphysical and they're metaphorical, right? You'll come away with a whole different perception of scripture and all that than you would have as if you already had it in your mind that the only way to look at it was, the physical, way to look at it. So, just saying. Now, the two deadliest eruptions in recorded history both took place in Indonesia in the late 1800s. The second deadliest is an 1883 eruption at Krakatoa, which destroyed much of the island and surrounding archipelago. It killed over 36,000 people and was felt through thousands of kilometers and heard worldwide. The deadliest was Mount Tambora eruption, which may have killed over 250,000 people. And this is... Did I say illustrated? And you can see, right, the pyroclastic flow and all of it being spewed out into... You don't use your left brain anymore? That's funny as hell. Well, you still need that left brain. You still need that... you still need that logical side. We can't make only hard decisions. I do agree, though. It's like I use my intuitive, creative side, my feminine side, far more than I ever have at any point in my life now. But I can overdo that too. All things in moderation, even moderation. I can get to the point to where I overdo the heart side of things and overdo the intuitive creative side of things, and sometimes I need to take it back down to earth a little bit and put that left brain logical spin on shit too. So don't discount left brain all together. We need it, but we can't just be seeing our entire world through left brain and letting that dictate our reality. That's for sure, right? It's there to assist with our reality. Because the right brain, transmits signals and information to it, and then it's able to tap into our speech centers and all that, and project that out into the world for us through phonetics. You find God within through meditation. My thoughts, your love for your Creator, drives your spiritual people, and drive it till it stops, because it does stop. What? What are you talking about, man? Where the fuck are you coming up with this shit? The love for the Creator, to me, never stops. It's infinite. That's the whole point. It's infinite. Maybe your love for the Creator stops. And it doesn't. We have lulls and we have times of doubt, sure. People have lost faith. I've lost faith at times, man. You know, it's hard to be consistent, especially for years upon years upon years. You know, I've been doing this for years now. I'm surprised I'm still even doing it, if you want the honest to God truth, because I've been to that many dark places, you know, as I've been on the path. It's like, damn, how am I still believing at this point? But I am, and you know, I think that that's what holds all of us together. Is not like, it's a knowing. It's knowing that there's something divine and special and a spark that's inside of each and every one of us. So that gives credence to that we came from something like that. We were made in the image of the Creator. So there's got to be a divine, you know, spark from whatever we came out of. Because we're conscious and aware. So we couldn't be made by something that's unconscious and unaware, if that makes sense. So something that was a thinking, conscious, you know, experiencing type of being had to be able to, you know, be what created us, or we wouldn't have the abilities to be a conscious, experiencing type of being either, right? It's only logic on that one, you know. Dave was laughing. It does go on forever. Now, in the modern day, the most recent catastrophic volcanic eruption is Hunga Haipai eruption in Tonga, which climaxed in January 15th, 2022. Death toll was small, but the eruption thought to be the strongest since Krakatoa. The eruption caused tsunamis that hit the Pacific Islands and the coast of North and South America, Russia, New Zealand, and Japan. This and the resulting damages illustrate the real danger of a modern-day volcanic eruption, economic devastation. And that's the thing, too, you know. We're now seeing FEMA, you know, get amped up and get prepared once again, you know, with the whole funeral cost, shit like that. And once again, these grants and all this for different types of destructions and cataclysms, which is, you know, kind of like an indicator that they're getting ready for something more. You know, the government has made big business off of natural disasters as well. You know, so even if they're the ones geoengineering it and fucking sending the tornado to your backyard, you know, they're getting paid. It doesn't matter if it happens naturally or not, you know. So we know that that's true as well. But the devastation in these areas after they've been hit by hurricanes, after they've been hit by earthquakes, right? Guys, it's like you don't want to be in one of those zones, you know. First and foremost, it allows for the most corruption to take place you could ever experience. And I don't think it's the people that are necessarily being so corrupt. Yeah, sure, there's looting and things like that happen in an area after it's devastated. Naturally, people are desperate. But as in most of those times when people's backs are, like what we seen in Houston, Texas with Hurricane Harvey was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. What were they called? Like the Cajun Navy or something like that. You know, this is all these people who experienced Katrina and shit where they were stuck. Nobody came to help them. You know, a lot of them died down there. They were treated terribly down there. You know, and I do believe it had a lot to do with their economic disposition and the color of their skin and all that. I believe it had a lot to do with that. And they're from the South. I believe it had a lot to do with those factors. And I also believe that was engineered, if you will, too. Just like Harvey, right? That sat on the bank essentially for like an hour picking up speed before he came in, Like, so shit like that makes you kind of question, because we know that it's not a hypothesis, or a guess. There is in fact technology that is able to create weather, and in particular hurricanes and tornadoes, and there is technology that has the ability to create volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and anything else you can imagine, and I believe they have been very tactical in who experiences what. Like Kentucky, people having the ability to farm and raise livestock and, do it privately and take care of themselves. And then they experience all these fucking tornadoes and all, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's weird. California and the fires, like, that's weird. Why are these places going through this, and it just so happens that they are at prime positions of, selling and creating, livestock supplies and things that people would need during hard times, Just because you don't know doesn't mean it's not going to happen. This turns 4 times, then it stops. This is the end of our ride. Okay, well, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about when you say it turns 4 times and it stops. This is the end of our ride. This is the end of your ride, maybe. And that's on you. My ride ends when it ends, and I'll be happy with the outcome, no matter how it ends, as long as it ends with me going to a higher place consciously and becoming a new being, a evolved and developed being that is able to exist in a higher dimensional space. That's what I'm shooting for. Says the researchers noted that the eruption significantly hit Tonga's economy and broke undersea communication cables. But the eruption's peak only lasted 11 hours, preventing more ash and gas release. I see it says, hey John, I believe they started in the Vietnam War to use the monsoons and shit to their advantage during war on at least... Yes, okay, so I had a theory about that too. And I thought... I didn't do a video on it because I thought it made me sound like an absolute lunatic. So I'm very glad that you brought that up. I don't believe it was just with the Vietnam War. I believe it was also with the Korean War as well. Right? Think about the concept of North and South Korea and North and South Egypt, Upper and Lower Egypt, right? These are spiritual principles, right? The Viet Cong and, what they did there, in Vietnam as well against people that were essentially kind of like natives to the land or, anytime. And there's even... I just seen an article, too, by FEMA trying to integrate with native communities now, too, reservations. Why would that be so? Why is there an effort mounting now to get FEMA on good terms with these protected lands of these reservations that are owned by Aboriginal and Native peoples? Why would that be on the docket now? Anybody know why they would want to do that? Why would they want to get their hands in a reservation or get their hands on Aboriginal or Natives on protected lands? Does anybody in the chat know the answer to that question? I believe I do, but I would love to see what other people think when it comes to that. I would love to see what people think. The Wheel of Time. Well, the Wheel of Time is the procession of the equinoxes to me, and time is infinite to me. We are infinite. We are a piece of the infinite, which makes us infinite as well. We're on a constant spiritual transition, downward and upward spiral. We're spinning in both directions. Higher, lower nature, the whole nine. But I would love to see why people think that FEMA is making a conscious effort right now to create good relations with a lot of the different Native American reservations here in the United States. Why would they do that? Why would they need to do that is my question. Because I have an idea. And we'll see what pops up in the chat here. But my idea is that these lands are protected. Police, government, military, and whatnot can't come onto these lands and disturb them. That's why they're reservations, right? It's reserved land. It can't be fucked with by these different authorities. And a lot of these Native American tribes and communities, in particular the Hopi, have prophecies that talk about when, world war breaks out, when cataclysms come and destruction comes, that people of all races and colors will flock to their land for safety. And that when this time comes, that they will welcome all of them, everybody who comes, they'll bring them all in. So, think about that. If you have patches of land that during a disaster, you can't go in and take everybody's Second Amendment from them. If you got patches of land where you can't go in and strip down their fucking cabinets and take all their food and say that it's possibly poisoned or been exposed to something as some, false reason that you're given for being there in the first place, like, a natural gas line leaked or whatever, right? Like, they can't go on reservations and do that shit and take them over. So if they can get into a buddy system with them, and get access to them, then those won't even be safe havens for people either. And that's why I believe they're strategizing and putting so much money and so much effort into that right now, is because they know that it's that close and it's at hand. So, they don't want you to have any place to go escape or to be safe or to be outside of the bounds of the lawless society that you will be in as a result of destruction and cataclysm. Rapport building, yeah, but why would they? That's what I'm saying, though. But why the need to build a rapport, though? And I think it's obvious. Yeah, Stamo, you're right, man. You're right. I do apologize. I forget that sometimes. Moving forward, had this happen, it would have devastated densely populated areas and could have caused severe problems for the global supply chain. The fact that this didn't happen is what made two researchers behind this article, Michael Cassidy from Miami, blah, blah, blah. Alright, so here, now we're going to jump to another one here. So I need to make it a little bit bigger. I'm blind as a bat right now. Dance in the plaza in front of you? Yeah, well, and you see here's another article talking about volcanoes, huge volcanic eruptions. Time to prepare. They're giving you the heads up. They're telling you, it's time to start looking into options on how you're going to take care of yourself during these situations. And I am a firm believer that if we sow good seeds, that good things happen to us, no matter, what that is. So it's all about on how we treat each other. It's all about on, being giving and loving and kind and all of that. That's going to essentially reinforce your magnetic field, your aura. Your aura is your shield. It is your magnetic field, okay? The number one way to deposit positive karma into said aura and said magnetic field is simple. It's through charity. It's through giving, right? That's the number one way. That's why churches and politicians and all of that, that's why they do that shit. They go volunteer at, homeless shelters and shit like that. They do it not only for their public image, because they want to look like they help people, but they do it because you get no bigger deposit of spiritual, energy when you do, give to someone or help to someone. So, they don't want you knowing these things, because if you did, you would be trying to do acts of kindness everywhere you went, because that would be your true protection, right? Remember that the generals and the kings of the earth, they're calling for the mountains and the rocks to fall on them and hide them from the face of the one who sits on the throne. The Hopi prophecy talks about that men will disappear like so much smoke, and that some will appear as if untouched. That's because your aura is your magnetic field. That is your Merkaba. That's your vessel. That is your spaceship. That is you. That will be your field, your magnetic field during the time of destruction, when the Earth's magnetic field has, officially collapsed and is going into full-on reversal. The only thing that will keep you safe, the only thing that will keep you out of harm's way, is if you are walking around charged with positivity and light and have the ability to repel negativity, violence, pain, destruction, right? If you've got an aura that is depleted and lacking, and you're trying to pull in energies, especially negatively charged energies, you're going to pull bad experiences to yourself. And this is why we try so hard on this channel to truly understand manifestation and attraction and things like that, because I feel like that's the key to survive these things, right? Like, I don't believe that, Jesus was a super, super pious person, and that he didn't have a side of him that was like a regular man or anything like that. Like, I think he just understood how it all worked. And that's why you're told to turn the other cheek. It's not to make you be a pussy. It's because if you engage with, negative energy, you entangle yourself with it, for one, right, and connect to it. And you feed into it, and you make it get bigger, if you engage with it. So and then essentially, your aura is filled with that darkness, that animosity. Essentially, that's telling the universe, and and especially because you're focusing on it, your thoughts and all of that are focusing on negativity. That's telling the universe that you want more negative experience, right? And remember, the universe will give you what you want, what you're asking for, based on your mind state. And then that's charging your magnetic field with those same energies too, right? So in order to feed that field, it needs more of those same kind of experiences. And that's telling the universe you haven't learned the karmic lessons of that type of energy. So you need more of it in order to overcome the experience. So when you're walking around and you're doing acts of charity, acts of kindness, being selfless, peaceful, loving, all of these things, right? That's telling the universe that you want more of that experience, that you need more of that in your life. And the bigger deposits of energy that we create of positivity and of light, the more of a protection we have when the entire magnetic field goes down on the earth. Because we'll be butt naked, That's why meteors will fall from the sky having men's names on it. How can they have a man's name on it, these meteors? Well, it's because they have absolutely zero protection, right? They're calling it right to them. Their energetic frequency or vibration is fine-tuned, if you will, to receive one of these meteors. So it'll have their name on it. There'll be no avoiding it. They'll be absolutely magnetized towards it. We want to put ourselves in a position to where we are not magnetized towards anything that is negative or destructive. Matter of fact, if we're in the right state of energy, we repel those kind of things, right? What about the firmament? The firmament to me is the magnetic field, right? And we know that it says in the Bible that islands and mountains will be removed from their place, and the sky will recede back like a scroll. Well, if you think about what that actually means, and if the firmament is in fact the magnetic field, kind of like a plasmatic shield, if you will, around the earth, if it's going to and fro, or, scrolling across the sky, then, thinking about magnetics and the way that is, that's because there's like a major disruption in that, and there'll be no protection, so it'll in essence roll away, right? There'll be no more field to keep the radiation away from you, to keep all of the cosmic energy from coming in. And we know that radiation and energy actually affects consciousness, and if it is in fact a dark star or a highly toxic comet or whatever that's super ionized, that energy is going to have an effect on consciousness too, right? So if it's a highly toxic comet, it could make you incredibly sick. There's no field to protect you. There's no veil. There's no firmament to protect you, and we know that it's going to split, right? It's going to roll up like a scroll. So that's going to happen, and that's as a result of flux in the field, right? Causing it to destabilize and reverse its polarity. It's going to wave like a damn flag. So, you're going to have those type of effects and those type of experiences, and there's no telling how you will receive that information. Remember, our DNA contains the genetic material necessary to receive these upgrades, and these upgrades are then sent throughout our nervous system, like our electrical wiring, to our brains, to our pineals, right? Our pineal glands, our magnetic poles of our body, which connect to our ability to receive the conscious signal from the stars, right? And the positive, and you're going to get it positive or negative. It all depends on what you're aligned towards, what your polarity is. And that's going to depend on how you experience that. And if you're not in a high state of consciousness, I imagine that a lot of these things are going to have, pretty scary effects on people. That's why it talks about in the Hopi prophecy that, we'll see entities and creatures and stuff from essentially other dimensions, right? Some that we had seen from the past, some that we've never seen before, right? And so, not understand the nature of these things. That's because all of the dimensions will be able to be accessed at once. We won't have that protective firmament over us anymore that keeps this one third dimensional space kind of locked into the illusion that we're in now, right? To where everybody, hears and sees in a specific energetic frequency range. So we kind of share a collective space or reality. Well, if the veil is gone, there's no limitation on perception on what you hear and see. So your reality could be totally fucking different than my reality, and that would be based on how much you're in alignment, right, energetically. So if your chakra system is totally out of alignment and you have not overcome traumas from your past, and you have your bottom three chakras blocked, let's say, right, and like your root chakra, which represents stability and security, that being blocked, and all of that frequency coming in, which will trigger activation and awakening in everyone, right? So that's why it's important to get them all jacked into the matrix. That way they can't shift into that frequency. You know, they're locked into an artificial frequency, you know, 5th generation frequency that's already, you know, being transmitted through all of the Starlink satellites and all that shit. But if you experience that frequency, you know, you're going to have the gifts and abilities of that frequency. Your DNA is going to respond to that frequency, you know, and you're going to be activated by that frequency. So if you're in a very, very dark space, right, that's essentially going to turn things into hell for you at a very, very intense level. And I think that's why a lot of people will be seeking death and won't find it, because, you know, the curse of death will be broken as well, because all of the dimensional spaces and reality that hold shit together will be broken. So death won't bind us anymore. We won't be able to die because we'll be, you know, outside of the conscious illusion or the cube or the trap of the matrix system that we live in now. So people are going to be, in essence, you know, heaven will be on earth, right? Heaven will be on earth. Jesus brought heaven down, right? And it's a war in heaven. And you hear heaven and heaven and heaven and heaven over and over and over. Heaven, you know, it means the celestial spheres or the heavenly bodies, right? It's it's space, which outer space is the outer psyche, right, of human consciousness. The outer psyche just means outside of the collective psyche within planet Earth, right? So planet Earth being micro, macro, you have your third eye, which is your wormhole or your bottomless pit or your portal, right, into the conscious realm. Well, the planet, in my opinion, is a collective third eye, if you will, for all of the human species. And it allows us to receive the conscious signals and frequencies from the sun and any other celestial bodies that are passing. So, you know, like I said, if you got a dark star passing that is got such a strong magnetic field, it doesn't even allow light to escape and gives off nothing but distortion and, you know, chaotic, poisonous frequency, well, that's going to affect people tremendously, and people will probably kill themselves once their eyes are opened and they see the true nature of reality, especially the ones who cling on to reality the way that they do. You know, and that's the new normal, right? The new normal applies to so many different things and so many different ways of looking at things, you know. So I think they're trying to get all of us kind of ready for a shift and change in vibration and frequency all over the planet, and it will be due, you know, to the catastrophic changes, or the catastrophic changes will be a result of the energetic frequency shift, one or the other. But they're telling you to prepare, right? To forecast and try to manage globally. The risks are greater than people think. Xfinity. I'm not sure if I'm catching on, so I do apologize for that. Let's move forward here. You homeschool your son. I think that's a very wise thing to do. Honestly, you know, why would you, in this day and age especially, and I'm not saying that everybody has the luxury to be able to do that. Some people don't work from home and they don't have significant others to chip in and help with the children or anything like that, so they have to, you know, in essence, send their children to, which is just fucking fantastic. For those of you that are just joining me, I did see that the stream cut off over on YouTube. So hopefully we're back on air over on YouTube. Everybody in the chat, let me know if we're back on air over on YouTube. If you're just joining us, this will be part 2 of 2 for Deluge of Delusion. I want to ask everybody to please hit the like, share this, comment, subscribe, right? Make sure you do all those things. And please support and donate to the channel. As you can see, I think it's incredibly obvious right now. We're getting into some very, very deep stuff tonight. So if you caught the first part of this video, you'll see why they cut it off, right? Because we're getting into the deepest of the deep. So there is a strong effort being mounted against this channel and myself to try to block all of our finances, to try to discourage people from donating and supporting, to try to do anything they can to stop us, because, flat out, it takes money to run a channel and to live and run a life. And they know that if we don't have the monetary support, that we can't keep going, right? We can't keep doing the things that we're doing, because I flat out, I wouldn't be able to afford to, This is how I live. This is my livelihood. So without your donations, without your support, the truth we just won't have this community, which you already know. All of the other communities just like it are, yeah, no shit. All of the other communities that are like this are already gone. They've already been canceled. They've already been wiped out, or they've been starved to death because they haven't gotten financial support. They haven't gotten, the support of their communities, or the support of the platforms they're on. The platforms are on, shadow banning and all of that. It keeps you from making advertising revenue and all of that shit. Know exactly what they're doing, and when we do deep dives like we do tonight, and we discuss the inner and outer workings and mechanisms of the matrix, they don't want you to know, because they want you to be a victim of the depopulation agenda. So I'm asking everybody that watches this video, every last one of you, please, please, please step up and donate and support. We greatly need the help, and we greatly need the support. We haven't been getting support lately, so, I don't like to push the agenda, of money and all of that, but we need it now. So I'm asking everybody to please, help me out if you can. Donate and give if you can. Every little bit counts, and this is how we keep it going. This is how we keep, our community vibrant and thriving, and, bring new people, all of this. Without it, we'll go away, and disappear like everybody else has, and we'll just fade out into the sunset like everyone else has. And I really, really don't want to see that. That would be such a tragedy. We put years and years of work and time and love together into this. All of us have. All of us have been involved in this. That includes you. Putting your blood, sweat, and tears and your hard-earned money into this community, and others like it. And we've watched far too many of them go away now, which is really sad. It's really sad because it says a lot about the state of the world now, The world is more concerned, and the people that are in power are more concerned with keeping you in the dark and deceiving you than they are protecting you and saving your life from the things that are coming onto this world. They want you unaware. That way it catches you in the middle of the night, with your pants down. Maybe quite literally for some of you. They want you unaware. That way you don't know how to protect yourself, your energy, in these situations, in these scenarios. And you will be reactive when it all happens. And the different situations, the different scenarios will control you and how you behave, instead of you being able to maintain control and maintain stability and maintain yourself and be able to adapt correctly and precisely the way that you need to. And to be in rare form, true mastery. That's what we're striving towards on every aspect. Every video is about self-mastery, whether you think it is or not. No matter if we're learning about Planet X or we're looking at, Aleister Crowley and the darkest shit that we look at on this channel. It's all pushing in the same direction, which is illumination, enlightenment. And some people don't even like me to use the word illumination. They think it makes it sound like I'm glorifying the Illuminati or something. I'm not. You're the Illuminati. Haven't you figured that out yet? The hidden hand. It's those who see that the hidden consciousness that lies within this planet that everyone has access to if they tap into it, but nobody's aware of. That hidden frequency that actually calls the shots. That actually makes or breaks a person's life. That actually makes or breaks the future of our planet and our species. That if you tap into it, you're able to manipulate the flow of currency in the monetary system. How do we know? We know that there are those that do that. Right? And that's why they can become fucking philanthropists and all that shit. They're trying to store up good karma, good energy by donating, by giving to these causes and all of this. Right? That way they have some type of protection for all the negative things that they're doing. That way they project an image to the population that they're actually here to help, and it's for your safety and security and, all these things. When we know deep down that it's the normal, everyday people like you and me that make this place run, not the billionaires. And that's what it's shifting to, too, is back to the people. Not just a few anymore, The needs of the many now outweigh the needs of the few. They always have, but that's the paradigm that the world is going to. That's why there's such an emphasis on depopulating it. Really slim it down to a population that's manageable to 500 million or whatever. And that manageable population has been genetically altered to where they can be patented and owned, or to where they're able to receive certain types of frequency which act as commands. That paradigm shift won't matter to them now, will it? If they, it'll be even better than what they had before, because their control will be even that much more focused. When it comes to humanity essentially being a slave race, we're already there. We're already enslaved. We're not going into a technocracy or technocratic state that is going to push us into this communist downward spiral of, eternal imprisonment and conscious enslavement and oppression. We're already in something like that. We're just seeing an upgrade into the control system to create a more modernized version of the leash that they got around your neck. And see, the sweetest illusion that they've created for all of us here is the illusion of, it's the illusion that all of these laws and restrictions that they create for you are what makes you free. Isn't that funny? That you've been convinced that your freedom depends on laws and restrictions. That's an oxymoron, ain't it? Your freedom depends on the laws and the things that we restrict you with. That's what keeps you free. Or that you get to God through rules created by men to determine whether you're worthy or not. How counterintuitive. Yet we buy it. Wholesale, we buy it. Not only do we buy it, we will argue for it, our limitations, and we will fight people if they try to take said limitations away from us, if they try to free us from the oppression and enslavement. We'll fight to the death over these. It's like everybody still trapped in the matrix, living in the matrix the way that most are. Can't come to terms with the fact that they have been duped and that they're in a matrix, that they are enslaved. It's just like too much for people to like handle or something. I don't know. It's like, oh yeah, you were born into this. It's not your fault. Your parents were born into this. You don't have to hate them for it either. The system that was set up around you, yep, they were also born into it. Oh, not me. No, I'm free. I do what I want to do. Do you? Do you enjoy your 40-hour-a-week indentured servitude at a job you fucking hate? Do you? Not knowing if you're going to have retirement or insurance or any benefits to take care of yourself in 5 years from now, living paycheck to paycheck as you watch the prices of things that are utilities, and we should all of us have access to, continue to inflate and go skyrocketing high past the brink of what you even make, to the point you're now after working 2 indentured servitude jobs. But oh yeah, you're free. Free to do exactly what we tell you to. And see, people like me were looked at as some type of disruptive force that is creating chaos, conflict in the system because we're not just going with the flow. And they say, you make it hard on yourself. You're goddamn right. I'm swimming upstream. It's always harder to swim upstream. It is harder on myself that way. I'm going to go back to the source of where the power comes from, where the understanding comes from. I'm not letting the current just take me down the toilet with the rest of society and humanity. I'm swimming upstream. I'm going to go back to it all, to where it all originates. Before we ever projected, anything about our world, it started with us, the source within us. we were born spiritually in tune with the Creator, and somewhere along the line we got disconnected or got our wires tangled. It doesn't mean we have to stay that way. Why are some asteroids shooting off swarms of high-speed meteorites? While meteorites are often broken off bits of asteroids, they can also be made of fragments of other moons and planets. I'm telling you. They say there's a debris field around that goddamn planet. And that it does damage. We get quite a bit of that now, don't we? How about this? Eyes on the asteroids. This is your current look at the celestial spheres, the celestial bodies, and where they are relative to the Earth. Oops. Like I said, I want to encourage everybody, share this. Do you see those big ass bodies? Look at that. Live countdown. 32 minutes away. I'm going to zoom in on this one. See all these giant bodies? They're coming from somewhere. It's only a matter of time. See the Earth right here? There's 2022 QM. Which I love this online software here. I think it's amazing. That gives you the perspective right there. Rolling up on the moon right now. Look at that. All those heavenly bodies. Can't even see the Earth right now. Covered up by so many. Next 5 approaches. (2022) QB, 74 feet, 500,000 miles away. 1.3 million. QH3, 44 feet, 92 feet. 2020 QW3, 3.3 million miles. 61 feet. 2022 QM, 4.7. And 55 feet at 1.7 million. 2022 QX. This is our time to pay attention. The fireballs, the meteors, the asteroids. This is your heads up. This is your heads up. We're still on Twitch and D Live. Well, it looks like it's actually playing on Best Damn Podcast 2. So it just knocked it off the main channel, I guess. I don't know. That is weird. Yeah, it's still live on Best Damn Podcast 2. That is strange. That is strange. That's strange. Let me see if I can do something about that. John's connection is throttled really bad. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing these things, to the channel, but this is what I mean. Like, I don't know. I got a green light right now, so Yeah, they knocked off John Boy 513 as well. So it's just BDP2 that's on right now, guys. So you can go to youtube.com/bestdampodcast if you want to watch on YouTube. Yeah, I just noticed a disconnect. I'm so sorry, guys. 2 asteroids hit the Earth and kill the dinosaurs. Well, I hope not, because we have Didymus and Dimorphos. Recently discovered possible asteroid crater in the Atlantic Ocean called the Nadir crater may be linked to an asteroid, presenting a number of possibilities. The dinosaurs widely thought to have gone extinct due to a single asteroid impact, but the giant asteroid that put an end to the reptilian megafauna may not have come to the Earth alone, according to a recent study. It may not have come to the Earth alone. It had help. It had friends. I'm going to try, and I see people, Twitch, D-Live, I think Zero's always on top of it. Zero's everywhere. It's like double agent Zero. Let's look at the abstract. Evidence of marine target impacts, binary impact craters, where impact clusters are rare on Earth. Seismic reflection data from the Guinea Plateau reveals a greater kilometer-wide structure buried below 300 to 400 meters of Paleogen sediment with characteristics consistent with a complex impact crater. The marine target in 800 meters of water depth was a 400-meter asteroid. You lost your wrench? You didn't lose your fucking wrench. You were on another channel here. Let me see if I can switch over and wrench some of you guys up while you guys are over on BDP2. And if you don't know where Best Damn Podcast 2 is at, go to Best Damn Podcast Official, and it'll have featured channels. And you'll be able to click right on that shit. Or John Boy 513 featured channels. You'll be able to click right on that shit too. It'll be right there for you. As well as, and make sure to hit the thumbs up too, guys, if you're over on there. Here, Stool Purger. You're a moderator now. And Donna Marie, I'm going to make you a moderator too. Alright, guys. I made a couple moderators over there. So we got moderators over on the backup. It's youtube.com/C/best damn podcast. So there you go. So you lost your main channel, still didn't get it from John's on your backup channel. Well, if you go over there, I'll add you to it. Everybody hit the thumbs up so more people can come over to the backup. Everybody go to the backup channel or go to Twitch or whatever and D-Live. You know, I appreciate it. I'm going to go for a little while tonight, so I'm going to keep it going. And I'll try to upload this version. Smooches. I'm going to try to upload this version over to the main channel after it's over. So we'll see how that works out, guys. I do want to go take a look here too, man. Where's it at? Let me close some of this out. I've got a couple of things I wanted to look at. Yeah. Today, 3 asteroids fly by the Earth. The asteroids in question, designated 2020 QW3, 2022 QM, and 2015 QH3 are relatively small, with estimates ranging from 11 meters to just shy of 50 meters wide. And we just looked at that on Eyes on the Asteroids, or Asteroid Watch. Sorry, I'm going to plug in my phone over here so I can make sure I'm still live. Alright. My bad. So we just had this today. What the fuck? And that's what it was. A different channel. Yeah. Let's close some of this down here. Okay, let's take a look at some of the latest data. I want to show you guys And this is something I haven't done in quite a while, actually, but it's necessary. I want to look at some of the scientific data pertaining to what's going on with our sun and different tracking by NASA right now. If you can see this right here, picture is so clear. That's what's up. If you can see this right now, then what you're looking at is cactus. This is the latest CME detections. And just take a look. All these little lines, these are the different limbs of the sun that it's on. It's busting off on one side, really. And I want you to look at the different images. We're going to pull up a few of these cactus images here. These are coronal mass ejections for all to see. And you decide if what we're seeing looks like, round objects in there that it's possibly going around, something that's triggering these coronal mass ejections. Over on cactus, I'm going to pull up a few different ones, okay? Some of the bigger ones too, and let you guys get a look at these. These are just recent too, like this one. And they're just little GIFs, so I mean. And matter of fact, boom. See? Looks like, something possibly next to the sun triggering these coronal mass ejections. I don't know. There's even bigger ones. Hold on, I got bigger ones coming up. Here we go. But you can see all of them. The picture is so clear. Are you being a fucking smartass? Is it not clear or something? Is it not clear and that's why you're saying that? Here we go. This is some of the biggest ones right here. Now look at this one. This is this is what I call the money shot right here. This is blowing a load out of the sun. And look at that. And you tell me a lot of times when you clean up these images, what we see is we'll notice, round objects next to the star that's actually, triggering these magnetic events. But, I mean, look at that. That is a fucking load, son. The sun was a little backed up on that one, don't you think? But, boom. Boom. Look at that. Boom. And this is what's generating this geomagnetic storms and all the different space weather that we're having. Yeah, it's wild, ain't it? I know. It really is. And I mean, look at that. You guys can look at all of this yourself. But I like to share it from time to time. And this one in particular, I believe you do see what appears to be some type of anomaly. Hold on, let me see if I can catch it. You can see it's bursting out of both sides of the sun. See, front and back right here. So, and then right here is where, if you see my cursor, you see some type of rounded anomaly, or what appears to be a rounded anomaly. Right? And, I mean, look at the blow off. Boom. 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 And it's coming out 3 different sides of the sun. Right? So, that's what determines the number of halos from it. Sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys like it. Yeah, 5 out of 5. Alright, now, I also wanted to pull up on the seismic activity. This is the last 7 days. This is the last 7 days, and I went way too... Alright, here we go. The last 7 days. And I have highlighted the major faults. You guys can see here in the United States, right, in particular, the Pacific Northwest and Juan de Fuca, right? We're having these strikeouts off of the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest. And as always... right? We know that the energy flows down these, these tectonic plates and these fault lines. It actually flows downward into San Andreas, comes up into Yellowstone, into New Mexico over here, migrates across the North American craton, which everywhere where you don't see the action happening, it's updating as we're speaking, everywhere where you don't see the action happening up here, that's the North American craton. Right, so that's where the actual giant continental plate is located. So if you're living in one of these areas, this is what I'm trying to tell you, man. They don't let you know that not only is it dangerous as fuck to be within 100, 200 miles of the coast because of tsunamis from glacial melting and, oceanic underwater volcanoes, not to mention, asteroid impacts and things like that. All the different, hurricanes, all the things that can bring, massive amounts of tidal waves and tsunamis and shit inland. How destructive it is if you live within 100, 200 miles off the coast. But it doesn't stop there. If you live at low elevations, flooding and the potentiality of that, as well as if you live in areas that are seismically active or on fault zones, right? Because you have the fault zones that generate earthquakes and will, end up in sinkholes and the displacing, of these different faults, perhaps swallowing you up under the ground during a pole shift. And then a lot of them are filled with these calderas underneath as well, which, that'll spew molten hot magma, creating eruptions. And if you even live in the area of one of these volcanoes, it's also bad news, because they generate laharas, from the pyroclastic flow and mudslides and landslides. So, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. So you want to live on the North American craton, and you want to live at a higher elevation, and you also want to pay attention to the type of rock that you're living on. You want to live on newer, younger bedrock, that way it's stronger and more solid. And you want basalt in the area too, that way it's not electrically conductive and can actually repel plasmatic discharge instead of attract lightning to you. So you don't want to be in fucking limestone with metal under your feet. You know what I mean? Is what I'm saying. You want to pay, or old ass bedrock that's going to swallow you up in the first earthquake. These are a lot of different things you want to think about, including the elevation as well. And you can look at these maps and it shows you, where the different areas are that are going to have the most trouble, because they're already having trouble. And due to the fault lines and all of this, you can see, what's going to be underground and what's not, and what's going to be underwater, what's not, right? The Juan de Fuca, that's, a plate that's literally hanging on by a thread. When it slips off, that plate's going to sink down into the ocean, and it's going to generate a tsunami like nobody's business, not to mention the earthquakes that's going to come off of the back of that as well. Many people, and I've said this fact before, when we look at San Andreas, they call it the big one because it would register a 9 or a 10 magnitude on the Richter scale. It doesn't have shit on Cascadia, right? If Juan de Fuca slips, not only does Cascadia send those tsunamis not just to the United States, but as far as Japan. It's happened before, but its earthquake in itself will be 30 to 40 times more powerful than what we call the big one in San Andreas. So, it is what it is, right? Again, what do you mean again? You also created a new channel, show a fresh start, away from all the BS. Dude, I don't blame you, man. I'm actually trying to get people to invest with me right now. That way I can start a new fashion line. You want to know the truth? I'm going to start doing my own art and graphic design for just, like the themes for the things that we talk about on the channel, stuff that makes a statement and has a backstory to it. That's, and I am going to put it in our merch store. And, I'm going to rock it on the show and show people it's like something I'm really passionate about and something I want to do. And it's also something they can't shadow ban or censor, and people will still be able to make a statement when they wear it. Cool shirts and shit that, show how they feel about certain things, and are about spirituality and, conspiracies and the truth and all of that. So that's something that I'm working on right now. I'm just having a hard time finding people to invest in that with me. So, or not that I'm having a hard time. I don't even want to put it like that. I just haven't spoke to many people about investing in that with me. But it's something I'm very passionate about and would like to do. I have a hard time getting people to donate. I don't think I'll have a hard time getting people to invest. And taking a look at the sun here, stereo 2. Let me see here. Right there. Nothing special though. Nothing anomalous that I can see to write home about, but maybe you guys. But you see the flashing there. They do take images out of this right there. Boom. And a lot of times you can see, what looks like objects or anomalies, and then seeing this in the same exact place too. Is what we was just looking at a second ago. Glad to hear you, brother. Hey, I'm glad to see you in here. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to see everybody, man. Like, I love all of you guys. I really do. I'm very, very grateful. And I love to see everybody here, too. A lot of you guys I haven't seen for a very long time, on the channel or in the chat rooms. Which I'll try not to hold too much of a grudge against you. But I can't promise anything. No, I'm just playing. I know how it is. We go through phases of what we're into and what we're not. And right here, you can see the anomaly right here, right? From the plasmatic discharge. And I know, too, a lot of you guys that, not everybody's into all the things that I'm into. So some people, when I go into the occult shit, they really tune out. They're like, no, I don't fuck with Aleister Crowley. I don't fuck with black magic grimoires and all of that. And like, that's up to you. I'm not asking you to become a black mage, man. But I'm not afraid to look at all information. And I mean all. I don't care if the book says it's cursed. I'll read it 20 times and be cursed 20 times in. I think that they put that stuff in those books to to scare and intimidate the novice. The adept, to keep them from fucking reading something that's advanced. It's like, oh, if you read this, you'll be cursed. So it's like, I'm not reading that. So anybody that's still spiritually superstitious, they're not ready for that level of knowledge anyways. Just keeping it real. And then a lot of people, they don't like the divination, right? They don't like the tarot readings or even the astrology, which is so fucking weird to see that people are like that about astrology. It's like, dude, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Astrology's all through the Bible. I kind of get the tarot card thing, but still, to me, that's incredibly dogmatic. We are divining information out of the tarot cards when we're doing it. That's why it's called divination. So divining, and it's not like, and people, there's pendulums, Ouija boards, there's a number of methods that you can use physical objects to channel particular energies. They're just tools. Ultimately, the true vessel or medium for the energy is you. right? You're what allows the flow of good and evil and negative and positive. It's up to you. So if you got a planchette and you're doing a Ouija board, yeah, you're opening doors, right? You're opening fucking doors. There's no doubt about that, but you're opening them up within yourself, right? The true medium, the true conduit is you, to talk to those spirits, to bring those spirits in. So if you got a bunch of bad juju on you, you will attract a bunch of bad juju. If you have a closed-minded, negative mentality about it, you will attract, negative stuff. And because the universe is always trying to create experience for us to remember who we are and awaken and return to awareness, if you don't believe in it and shit like that, a lot of times people will make fun of spiritual stuff because they're like, oh, that's fake, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's usually the first person who opens himself up to it and gets some type of demonic attachment or something. It's the universe of sticking spiritual energy on them. That way they'll learn the experience, learn the lesson through experience that it is real, that they do have an infinite and eternal soul, and that, all that spiritual mumbo jumbo isn't fake, right? It's true, and everything in our world comes from the spirit. And a lot of people get upset because we don't pump Jesus in the way they want us to pump it out there. I believe in Christ. Christ is my foundation. Where I started all of this with, absolutely has my understanding and perception changed on Christ. Yes, 1,000%. But it's not in a negative way, in my opinion. It's in a sense of it's empowered me. I feel like it's empowered a lot of people who watch this channel the way that it's been perceived. So, I don't have to go along with religious indoctrination of any way, shape, sort, or kind, and I'm not going to believe that there's a God sitting up in the sky that handles all my problems for me when I know that God, the Creator, said I'm made in His image. I mean, I'm like Him, right? And when we see Him, we will be like Him. That God's already put all the answers within us, given all the power within us. We could already tap into that. We don't need to go along with religious paradigms and bullshit realities. Tarot cards will bring in evil. Same with Ouija, a vessel to hell. Oh, go the fuck on, man. You're a vessel to hell. You're a vessel to hell, and you bring in evil. It's your energy, dude. That's what I'm saying. That's how you know you don't understand that's how you know you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not trying to be offensive to you, but you don't know what you're talking about. You've obviously never worked with those things, If you gave it a real chance, right, and if you had enough faith in your God and what you claim to believe, then you would know that none of it could harm you anyways, right? Because it's by your faith you were healed, right? And it's in our faith through everything. So that's what we believe. So if you believe that it's evil and cursed and it's going to fucking send you to hell, well, guess what? You created that with your belief system, right? Which belief is the enemy of knowing, by the way. So just saying, blindly believing and following just because it's in a book written by a man doesn't make it right. It just makes it written in a book by a man. I could write a book tomorrow. Are you going to believe everything I put in there because I claim that it come from God? No, you're going to test those theories. You're going to test that out. And it's for lack of knowledge, surely my people will perish, according to the Bible. And if you look at the book of Ezekiel, God is having Ezekiel burn hair and bind shit and do all types of things that would be considered witchcraft. So to me, tarot cards aren't witchcraft, in my opinion, even though they are known formally as divination. Tarot cards are tools to pick up and read on energy, right? And the energies are magnetically attract the energies associated with the image or the symbol on the card. So if you say chariot, for example, that's associated with the sign of Cancer, right? It's associated with moving and movement and, things like that. High priestess with Virgo, Page of Cups, Virgo, those kind of things. The magician, Virgo, right? Like, there are different types of energies, and these are energetic archetypes, and they're represented by energetic frequencies, and symbols are nothing more than energetic frequencies. So to understand the frequency, right, like something of a high vibration or frequency will have characteristics and attributes, So if it's a high priestess, it means that the energetic attributes and archetypes of that is spiritual gnosis. It's knowing, it's understanding, right? It's a type of state of being, right? It's archetypical, meaning in that archetype, that energy represents this, and this, right? It's not good or evil. The good or evil is in the person, and it's the reader, too, that puts a negative or a positive spin on things, right? If you go strictly by the meaning of the cards, they're benign. They don't pick sides in a tarot reading if it's about you and a lover. They don't do none of that stuff. They just show what the energy is being picked up by the cards. And like I said, the cards, through the form of symbolism or, whatever, they are representative of, energetic frequency. One could say the same thing with like fucking totems and sigils and all that too. Like, this is all on how we perceive it. I was actually reading a book on servitors years ago, about 2-3 years ago. A servitor is like an energetic being that you can make with your consciousness to go do your bidding, right? So you can do your will with energy. It's actually witchcraft. It's magic. I do not do this. I do not practice it, but I have studied witchcraft, the occult, different forms of paganism and mysticism and all of that. I've had to a great extent, actually. I've studied these things because I was trying to figure out which direction I wanted to go as I was learning. I was wanting to, decide, do I want to practice witchcraft? Do I want to do spells? Do I want to, and I decided no, I did not. Okay? That was the conclusion I came to. But on my way to learning, when I would learn how to do these different things, it taught me the spiritual process of why the witchcraft works and how it works. And that's what I think is the most important, right? Is understanding the why and the how. That's how you can then use the energies yourself for protection and, attraction and deflection, right? And things like that. But if you don't understand, the why and the how of all of it, well, then you're victim to it, and the energies have free reign on you, and you can't defend yourself against it if you don't understand how it actually works either. And I have a lot of people, as a result of doing this in public for so many years, that have come to me with problems, being hexed, cursed, and, just harassed and having not so good, experiences. And I've had to kind of, guide them out of different things before, see the telltale signs of when somebody is demonically oppressed or when someone has a demonic attachment. And you have to understand how those things work in order to break those ties, to break the things that have you bound. To understand how energy flows in order to repel and cleanse those type of energies too. Right? So to me, it's more like the study of demonology, right? Like, so a demonologist isn't demonic, are they? An exorcist isn't demonic, are they? No, they're trying to learn all they can about the enemy, so to speak. And that's kind of how I see it when it comes to these things. And I don't see tarot cards as the enemy, that's for sure. I know they can be used by the enemy, and a lot of deception can be used by it. Let's see here. And if I was a rude asshole to you, I do apologize. I wasn't trying to be, but I do get a bit defensive about, people saying I'm fucking messing with the devil or going to hell or whatever. Let's see what we say. Also, me and my cousin saw the Baphomet while the devil in your grandparents' house. We both screamed, crying. This is maybe while you're back listening now, and you need to be baptized. Okay. Hey. In my opinion, you're being baptized with the Holy Spirit, right? See, the first one that came, John the Baptist, baptized with water. The water representing, nations, languages, multitudes, and tongues and people, right? Like the old spiritual dualistic understanding. But the baptism by fire is a baptism by magic, by spirit. Just saying, right? So when John was talking about when you see the one that you see the Holy Spirit descend upon, right, like a dove, right, and stay on him, right, that's the Messiah, that's the Christ, that Holy Spirit, that divine Spirit, when, descended down and stayed on Jesus, right, the baptism by fire in the elements, right? When we're talking about different elements of, esoteric knowledge, fire magic, right, is the most powerful magic of all of them. So baptizing by the Holy Spirit is baptizing by fire, right? Baptizing by fire. So, and we're refined by the fires of affliction. So it's like the ultimate spiritual magic, right? So magic is no different than religion, except magic understands what religion is dogmatic about and uses that against people in a lot of, instances and scenarios. But a true magician understands the way the magic works, and instead of trying to cast spells to hurt people and take advantage and capitalize on people, a true magician, in my opinion, is baptized with fire, refined by fire. We call that dark night of the soul, right? All types of things, right? It's their own fire that baptizes them, rising like the phoenix when they're reborn in the fire, right? The ashes, it's the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the divine feminine. But a true magician, they aren't, casting little piddly spells, right? They have taken it to a form of almost mentalism, in my opinion, to where it becomes like on the mental plane, the astral plane. They can control it with their mind, their thoughts, their true essence, right? They understand their intent, their intentions. If your intentions are good, that's where it starts. But if you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't matter how good your intentions are, right? Because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it's about a mixture of all, right? Having the knowledge, right? Having the knowledge, which is like the book smarts and all of that, understanding, how the different elements work, understanding the zodiacal wheel, understanding light and sound, and understanding, metaphysical aspects, and how they correlate to all the different dimensional aspects of ourselves and, our world. Which I feel like nobody breaks it down like we do on this channel on all those different levels. And then once you understand where the different elements and power sources come from and what they're actually used and how they're used in the process of creation, then you can begin to harness those said elements into your own everyday living, right? And implement them in ways that are beneficial to you. It doesn't mean that you're, like I said, you don't have to ever cast a spell to be a magician, right? You don't have to ever cast a spell to know magic, right? Matter of fact, we know that words are spells. So every time we speak a prayer or chant something or say something, we're speaking, word magic right there. So that's the true empowerment, is understanding the strength in your words and how to speak in correct ways and be very intentional about everything that you say. Understanding that it's very important not to speak in, negative connotations or coming from places of lack, because that's what that generates, We have our intentions, our good intentions, our intentions to purify, clear, attract good things, and that forms our thoughts. Our thoughts are reality. Our thoughts are creation. So we focus those thoughts and control those thoughts and no longer allow negative thoughts to influence our existence in our life. We focus our thoughts and harness them on the things that we want to attract into our life. We focus our thoughts on blocking and protecting and repelling us from the things that we do not want, and we take those thoughts and get creative and decide how we want our lives to play out, how we want our world to look, right? And then that goes into scripting, taking those thoughts to the physical world, onto paper, basically, and writing it out, like, this is how I want my world to be, this is how I want this to go, right? You're stating and declaring your intentions, which is absolutely huge whenever you're practicing or performing anything, to set the intention of something, right? That's setting the intention behind something is first. That's the framework of anything you're doing, is setting the intention, right? And then you are focusing your thoughts in the direction, polarizing your thoughts in the directions of the way you want to take things, how you want to attract things. And that also built in protection, because once you have focused thoughts in positive, polarized directions, and you set the intention for something, then by default, right, by proxy, because the world is inverted, the other reality, or the things that are not compatible with that, will be repelled, right? So it's a process, and we're all still trying to just figure it out. But upon being able to attract and have those things with the scripting, you have to use also the positive affirmations to reinforce the way you see and perceive yourself. That way you have faith in your ability to work with God, to work with the Creator, and the faith and the ability in your guardian angels, your guides, your protectors, whatever you call them. The heavenly realms have, hierarchical rankings too, that work on your behalf, right? Archangels and all of that are working on your behalf in the unseen realms, and that are offering protection and assistance and guidance, for you as well. And all of this, ultimately gives you control and influence over the way that you experience. If you can control those thoughts, right, you set the framework of your intention, set the intent, right, control your thoughts, set the framework of your thoughts, the direction of your thoughts, polarizing them into the specific place you want them to go, sending them in the specific place you want to go. If you're a powerful conscious being and you're thinking negatively and shitty about a person, you're ultimately sending them bad magic, right? Because you're that powerful when you're awake and you're aware. So just by thinking about a person negatively, you're sending them curses and hexes. Especially if you're speaking it into existence. And that's why it's important for the positive affirmation and the scripting to write it the way you want it to unfold, and then to speak it into existence, put it from pen to paper, bring it into physical existence, and make sure that you are in physical alignment, as well as your chakras are in alignment, to allow that energy to flow to and fro. That way when you put it out, it's amplified into the universe. It's attracted to all the things that are on the same energetic frequency or plane. And when it comes back to you, because everything comes back to you, it comes back to you bigger, stronger, and better than it was before, because you were doing all the things necessary to create that. Some people, use herbs and flowers and plants and use them as offerings because herbs, flowers, and plants have an energetic frequency or, symbolism to them too. So they attract certain types of energies and archetypes as well. So that gives strength to the things that you're trying to bring into. You ever heard of like a money plant? People keep it in their house. That's the same concept, same principle. Different tinctures and shit like that. Same thing, you ingesting these type of things or putting different salves on your skin, taking baths in different plants and stuff as part of, cleansing yourself before you do this. This is all part of these processes as well. Same thing goes into like sex magic, right? Which is the most powerful form of magic outside of, I believe it's even more powerful than human sacrifice and blood magic. That's my opinion. Because blood magic, human sacrifice is the power of death, right? And the God of this world may be more receptive to the power of death, but the power of life and creation is stronger than anything, right? So when man and woman come together, that is the power of life, right? Through sex. And we connect sexually deeper than any other connection we can have, right? It literally ties us together in the astral realm or consciously. So, bringing those two forces charges the air in such a way too. You ever notice that whenever you're about to have sex or you're attracted to a person, there are pheromones that are released or given off, right? That's the charging of the air. Your body begins to produce those things, set the stage, if you will, to call in the sexual encounter with a person, And that's not to mention your natural animal magnetism as well, which you can also work on just strictly by scripting, positive affirmation, and learning. And once your chakras are in alignment and you've got yourself energetically in tune and aligned, then you have no more blockages. I feel like people, today the reason you see so many commercials for like erectile dysfunction and shit is because people's chakras are out of alignment. Think about that. Like lower chakras and shit that affect, the flow of energy through your body. Wouldn't that also affect blood flow in your body and so on and so forth, and other diseases and illnesses? I feel like that's why people aren't spiritually balanced. The practice of Tantra, right? Each person having their own individual Tantra has everything to do with you being in alignment, and my Tantra would be different than your Tantra. That would be my form of using my sexual energy to harness it as a force within my creative reality of expression and magnetism. So, like however I choose to use it is how I choose to use it, and my expression of it would vary in degree as opposed to your expression of it, right? But it doesn't make my way right, your way wrong. My way may be more advanced than yours, and yours may be more advanced than mine, but each and every different person has their own individual Tantra, and that's why, like the teachers of old, the masters of old, one of the ways they would recognize where you were at along the path is they would ask you what Tantra you practiced, right? What's your Tantra? What Tantra you practiced? And determined on your answer, that's how they could tell where you were at on the path. If you had something that was strictly, a carnal answer, and you're just listing, sexual positions and shit like that, they would know that you wasn't very far on the path and that you were still locked in a lower carnal state and that you didn't really understand, the deeper essence of energy and the essence of life and spirit in itself. But if you started talking about fucking breathing exercises and different forms of yoga and, different meditations and all of this and, and energetic expressions of magnetism, they would know that you were highly advanced, right? And they may want to learn from you, And when you have sex, intercourse with someone, think of the word intercourse, right? Intercourse. It's an interconnectedness and crossing of orbits, right? A course, an orbit, a cycle, right? We intersect our course. We intersect our orbits. Our lives become entangled energetically when we have sex, And we create astral connections, and a lot of times when we have intercourse, those courses are part of a spiritual contract as well. So my course in life is my soul contract with Creator. Your course in life is your soul contract with Creator. So, if I connect my course to your course, well, our soul contract, between the two of us will be something that adapts the two courses to make it one. So we start taking on what we call attachments and all kinds of shit, especially if somebody is banging everyone and their mama. They've taken on a lot of astral connections and they're leaking energy in a lot of different places. And if you're connected to them, well, guess what? They're going to be more of a vampiric, parasitic energy to you, draining you. Or maybe very codependent and insecure and all this, and connecting you to all the other energies that they're having intercourse with. That's why you have to be very careful who you give yourself to. That's why the sanctity of marriage wasn't about egos like people think it is. Like, oh, you've never had sex, I'm your first, ha ha ha. No, it was the purity and the sanctuary of the human temple. That's what made it special. You were taking on an untouched temple with your untouched temple, right? Creating a pure soul contract between two people and the pure power of creation. So that's why you were worth the dowry if you were a woman and shit, right? And the dowry was that you had no contracts on you. Right? In those contracts that you're connected to, you take on the entire energy of that person. So let's just say you bang so-and-so, okay, and he's a fucking loser, and he comes from a long line of fuckboys and losers. Well, guess what? You take on that energy and all of the attachments and, the ancestral and familial curses connected with that energy because you're now tied to it, right? And if you do that with a lot of different people, well, you're dragging around a lot of baggage, a lot of bad karma, a lot of negativity, a lot of distortion within your field, and you're leaking energy to all of those connections. So if you were a virgin, you had none of that. You didn't bring bad luck with you. And you can actually do that. You can sleep yourself into bad luck. That's why I don't get down with the swinging shit and all of that. A lot of people that practice, that's what they do. They think that, the whole swinger lifestyle and all that goes hand in hand with magic and spiritual practices. But to me, I think they don't understand how it actually works, or they wouldn't do those things. And if they do, it's because usually they're trying to manipulate it. They're trying to manipulate it. They're trying to use the energy of all their different partners, for their own personal gain. And that's why they do the swinging stuff, and the orgies and all of that. They're trying to go on the darker, distorted end of the spectrum, so... But that's a lot of curses and it's a lot of stuff, and you get a lot of dark energy out of that. So it's all depending on what you're looking for, what you're trying to manifest, and if you're trying to create lower carnal shittier stuff, then yeah, go do that. That's the place you want to get energy. But if you're trying to grow something beautiful, pure, and awesome, then you have to go for the energy where it's like that. Are you trying to deal in murky, disgusting, stagnant water, or are you trying to drink pure, clean water, like for your soul? What do you got to think, like, the quality of your work is only going to be based on the quality of the utensils you have and the quality of the ingredients you have, So anything like that, we have to understand that it goes way deeper than what, one even thinks it could. And that's why it's good to not just fast from you ditched your friends. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll just say this. I've dated girls that are into different things, and I had no problem with that. Like, open relationship, swinger, or whatever. You do your thing. On what you're into, but I choose, as a sovereign being, as responsible for my own energy, I choose not to engage in those activities for the reasons I just stated. It's not that I'm a prude or I think I'm better, if you do it, I'm better than you, I'm more religious than you. No, not at all. I choose to keep my temple clean. If I wanted to get so-and-so's energy attached to me, then I'd go sleep with my fucking self. You know what I mean? If I wanted all those energies connected to me, then I would have them connected to me. And that's my thing. And that's why I'm very, very careful who I engage with. I didn't used to be when I was younger. I was a little all over the place. But I think all of us were, as we were experimenting in life and all of that, But after I became aware how connected I became with people, and it wouldn't even have nothing to do with emotional feelings a lot of times. Like, once I became enlightened, illuminated, and I connected with you in that way, it's like, if it was an unhealthy connection, it could have some very, very bad, severe effects on people. I've seen people, in bad shape after you withdraw that energy. You know what I mean? Like, so if they're used to people, especially codependent people, if they're used to feeding off of a super powerful, positive energy that brings luck and manifestation and strength and all these things to their life, and you withdraw it from them, well, they can get pretty desperate, to try to get it back. And sadly but truly, when you're in a state of positivity, not only does it attract other positivity and people that are on your level, it's going to attract people that are on your level. So if you see things a certain way, you're going to attract people that see things a certain way, right? Right vibe, right tribe. But there's an inverse to everything. So you're also going to attract those that want to, capitalize on that as well. And that see things in the opposite and see it as an opportunity. So, givers don't just attract other givers. They also attract takers because of the paradoxical reality that we live in. So, swingers. Wow. That's intense, Melody. Jesus. That's intense. That's very intense. I don't even know if I want to say that. Yeah. I mean, in essence, we need love, we need energy, we need attention in certain ways, and we find ways to get it. We shouldn't need it, truthfully, because everything we have is within us. But because we are human, we require energetic release. And that's why sex is important. It keeps you from being frustrated and angry and all of that. And it's, exercise and, it creates an emotional bond between you and another person. It's, making the two become one in physical union. So there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful aspects to it, and a lot of good things to it. But in the same token, it can screw people up if they get very dependent on it, and some people wield it as a weapon, straight up. I mean, I know a lot of people that wield it as a weapon, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't done it too, like I've taken advantage of people through that power, like, okay, well, I know that, I know what I'm doing with this, so, like, I'm not going to be the victim, like that type of thing, which I do not do that anymore. I don't even engage in any activity unless I come with a fully open heart, and pure intentions on everything, because it comes back to bite you so hard. So we have to be very careful with that, because that's the power of creation right there. And that's why during those rituals, you see the offering of the herbs and all of that, and then you will see, it written down, the ritual, with symbols and idols and totems and sigils and whatever else within their circle and the ritual they're trying to create. And then after they have sex, after, they will do like, baths and stuff like that to prepare them before. But after they do, and they've written everything down and all that, usually 9 times out of 10, they will take the fluids from it and put it on a contract or the paper or whatever they wrote the ritual on to bind it. But after that, you have such a release of energy and pheromones that the air becomes extremely charged and ionized. And when the air is charged with that type of energy, it's the energy of creation. So that's when they will speak their ritual, do their chants and all that after the sex. Because that's when the air in itself, you change the atmosphere. You can feel sex in a room. When you have sex in a room, you can feel the tension. Before and after, you can feel the release and feel the energy and feel the pheromones and feel all that, especially if you're intuitive, and especially if two people are bringing intense passion and energy to it, or intuitive and receptive. So, yeah. And people get themselves mixed up in some really bad, fucked up stuff through sex magic, too. If you go into that stuff unaware, I have known some folks that messed around with it, and they didn't know what they were doing, and they got their ass waxed, basically. They became a person's slave. They went into a very, very serious state of bondage. As a result, what starts off as playing around sometimes can end up in a very shit situation. So you got to be careful. And if anybody's wanting to bind you and shit like that, you better ask yourself why. It's not just a kink thing. Like, those things have principles and stuff behind them too. So if somebody's desperately trying to get you to participate in, those kind of rituals, and the rituals have a binding type of nature, you better understand that that's the intention of it all. It is to keep you bound. And anybody that wants to keep you bound, for one, they don't give a shit about you. And for two, they've got some type of motives on why they would like to bind you or put you under their control. And like I said, that because of the deep connection we create with that particular thing, it's very, very hard to break, and you can do some real deal damage to someone once you're astrally connected on that deep of a level. So, very, very weird stuff, I guess, but, and that's why, too, it talks about in the Cobran Bible, that women's wombs will become barren in the last days. The energies will be so distorted that they won't be conducive to life. You know, they won't be conducive to life. Yeah. So think about that. You know, think about that nice and long, you know. Energy so bad, so distorted, so chaotic in the world that women all become barren. Right? That men lose their potency. Because our reality and what we exist in no longer is conducive to spirits of light. It's very, very crazy. Very crazy. But it happens. And that's the way things are, We'll be in a shit show after this, brother. Well, you're goddamn right, Don Henry says, best damn fam and all that came with helped you understand that you're not alone. You're enough. And you are enough. You're definitely not alone. And that, you know what? It has me too. Has me too. For real. I've met beautiful people. Beautiful people. Through doing this and having this experience. No matter how much I get down, or how many experiences I go through, it's nice to have people that have your back and that have been through similar experiences, Yeah, well, it's just an interesting time that we live in. Things are not what they used to be, and they're definitely not what they appear to be. And we're all coming into that understanding now. Including the understanding that there's nothing we can't create, nothing we can't do, nothing we can't have, if we open our minds and our hearts to it, and if we do it together. That it truly is, at the end of the day, about helping and loving one another and being selfless, because what we give out is what we receive, and we get 2 for 1. This is a double up reality. We not only receive the karma from what we do to people, but we receive that same karma twice because we're doing it to ourselves as well. Right? So we get back, 2 for 1. It's puts a lot of responsibility and accountability on people for how they behave, how they act, the things that they say, and the things that they do. When you understand that. Because it's no longer just you, that is being affected by your decisions or, whatever. It's you and the world. You're amazing, amazing time to be alive. Definitely increasing the frequency. I agree. And I'm tired as fuck tonight, too. I'm trying to keep myself awake. But, the stuff is just so interesting. And there's just so much I want to share. We'll have to continue this one tomorrow, I guess. Thank you so much, guys, for watching tonight. Like, I cannot tell you how grateful I am, how much I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. Hit that like, hit that thumbs up, share this link, spread it far and wide. Subscribe and click the bell so you get the notifications. And please consider donating and supporting to the channel. This is how I make my income. This is how I'm able to survive. So, it's greatly appreciated and much needed. And this is how the channel is able to keep going and do anything that it does or grow at all. So, and here recently, I'm not just tooting my own horn or, trying to put a woe is me story on anything. It has been very, very challenging, to say the least, to get people to even want to give anymore, So, we need all the help we can get, and everybody who does donate support will get access to tomorrow night's Discord show, which will be totally private, Best Damn Fam roll only. And yeah, I think that's about that. It's $35 a month to join the Best Damn Fam. $50 to book a tarot reading. You book a personal tarot reading, I will have you together within 24 hours. I'll either send you your own personal video of the tarot reading, or we will sit down on Discord. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. You can also book a soul profile. They are $100. You will get the tarot reading, energetic intuitive reading as well. And we will also do your personal astrology according to your natal chart. We will look at your numerology and your life path number, and all of that good stuff, as well as the etymology of your name, the ley lines and the place that you were born in, and any vortices or energies that reside in those areas that could affect you or make you more sensitive. And that's just emerged. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So join us over on Patreon, YouTube channel memberships, Facebook fan subscriptions, and if you want to book the reading or join the Best Damn Fam, it's $35 a month. Do that PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. The links are in the description box below, and then text tarot reading if you do the tarot reading with your phone number, or soul profile if you do the soul profile. Remember, it's like etymology of your name, gematria, all of it. It's very cool. Or if you're doing the Best Damn Fam, I'll know if it's $35 that's what you're doing. So if you need the links to the Dropbox, and remember, tomorrow night we're doing the private show for donors only. Everyone who donates, even if it's just $5, will get access to watch the private show on Discord. You will get upgraded to the Best Damn Fam role on Discord, which I change it monthly. You just mention @JohnKeen and put the date that you donated and the way that you donated. Don't put the amount and all of that. Just put, August 18th PayPal, right? Mention @JohnKeen, August 18th PayPal, and I'll upgrade you to Best Damn Fam before tomorrow night's show. That way you can get into the room and be able to watch it and all that good stuff, no matter what you donated. So even if you haven't, done the memberships or anything like that, you'll still get to watch just for supporting the live shows. You just don't get access to the entire Dropbox and the merch and all that good stuff, the extended readings and all that. And you text 513-393-2396, 513-393-2396 if you have joined for this month and you paid your money and you want your Dropbox links. There's over 100 videos in that, in the Dropbox, including just some of my all-time favorite shit that's never been put on the public platforms. They're all 3 hours or plus long, and they go back a couple years now. So, I mean, it's really cool, and it's stuff like human trafficking, all types of crazy shit. Most of it's very graphic, too. And it's stuff that you won't find nowhere else or by nobody else. So it's well worth it, and that's what, keeps the channel going. If you join us over on Patreon, you do get a free merch item every 3 months. Okay, you have to at least do the $35 one to get the merch, and I believe that you have to do the $50 to get the hoodies. So if you want the free hoodies every month or every 3 months, do the $50. If you just want like t-shirts and all of that, do the $35. So, and I think $25 you get a coffee mug. I'm not sure, but I think it's $35. I'm not sure. So text that number, email, and make sure to put in the links like tarot reading, soul profile, or links. That way I know what you're texting for or what you're emailing for, and I can get that out to you immediately. Alright guys, make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, follow on all the platforms, all the channels. Hit that thumbs up, hit the like, share the link, that way everybody can see it, and then comment like crazy. Even after the video's over, comment like crazy, man. Let me know what you think, and I'll pin all of the donation links and stuff in the top of the comment section. Remember, Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. God bless you all. I love you, and I will see you next time. Y'all have a wonderful week. And tomorrow, private show over on Discord. Make sure to donate, support, and join us. Peace.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Coming to you from the studio, located in the Nemesis Stars, planet Earth. The transmission, the truth, the destruction, try the best, try honest.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines.